Today's podcast is brought to you by Carrick's Audio and Audible, audibly acceptable audiobooks. Right now, you can get over 100,000 million books through the Carrick's Audio Bookstore. New York Times classics like I Married a Werewolf, Teen Bruisers, What Is This Dark Spot, Why Can't I Pull Off My Own Face, and the classic award-winning self-help book, How to Staple Your Mouth Shut by Here is just a small sample of the audio quality that you can expect. He flicked the hair out of his face, the sweat beading off of it, his weight pressed down on her, his lithe form finding comfort in her curves. There was a sensuous quality to her body he couldn't get enough of. He slipped her bra off smoothly and tossed it onto the hard concrete floor. Bill patted the old Corvette with one hand. That's it, baby. Let me know all your secrets. An entire world is waiting for you. Just download them on the go to your Android or that one company that fucking hates headphones, so they remove the port completely. Listen on the go. Pretend you're busy so you don't have to engage with others in society. And that's right, you can do it all from the comfort of your little safety cocoon of sound, you goddamned introverts. It's best if you also don't make eye contact and beat your head like you're cooler than everyone else is. Just $19.99 a month plus taxes and fees and VAT times 2, or our subscription service that's only $19.99 a month plus VATs and fees and service times 2. And allowing our tracking cookies, you can have instant access to all that you desire when it comes to the audio realm. So join Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks now for when your eyes are just too fucking lazy to move side to side. And remember, you can't cancel at any time. Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks. Let's just stop moving as a species, you fatties. Today's podcast is brought to you by Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks. Right now, you can get over 100,000 million books through the Carrick's Audio Bookstore. New York Times classics like I Married a Werewolf, Teen Bruisers, What Is This Dark Spot, Why Can't I Pull Off My Own Face, and the classic award-winning self-help book, How to Staple Your Mouth Shut by Here is just a small sample of the audio quality that you can expect. He flicked the hair out of his face, the sweat beading off of it, his weight pressed down on her, his lithe form finding comfort in her curves. There was a sensuous quality to her body he couldn't get enough of. He slipped her bra off smoothly and tossed it onto the hard concrete floor. Bill patted the old Corvette with one hand. That's it, baby. Let me know all your secrets. An entire world is waiting for you. Just download them on the go to your Android or that one company that fucking hates headphones, so they remove the port completely. Listen on the go. Pretend you're busy so you don't have to engage with others in society. And that's right, you can do it all from the comfort of your little safety cocoon of sound, you goddamned introverts. It's best if you also don't make eye contact and beat your head like you're cooler than everyone else is. Just $19.99 a month plus taxes and fees and VAT times 2, or our subscription service that's only $19.99 a month plus VATs and fees and service times 2. And allowing our tracking cookies, you can have instant access to all that you desire when it comes to the audio realm. So join Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks now for when your eyes are just too fucking lazy to move side to side. And remember, you can't cancel at any time. Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks. Let's just stop moving as a species, you fatties. Today's podcast is brought to you by Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks. Right now, you can get over 100,000 million books through the Carrick's Audio Bookstore. New York Times classics like I Married a Werewolf, Teen Bruisers, What Is This Dark Spot, Why Can't I Pull Off My Own Face, and the classic award-winning self-help book, How to Staple Your Mouth Shut by Here is just a small sample of the audio quality that you can expect. He flicked the hair out of his face, the sweat beading off of it, his weight pressed down on her, his lithe form finding comfort in her curves. There was a sensuous quality to her body he couldn't. Why should you join the ACG YouTube membership? Listen, it helps the channel. Sure, I could pretend that some company's pre-built PC is awesome, even if it just accidentally happens to be that I got it from them in the last 3 weeks. You don't want that. I could also open up an OnlyFans, which just mean naked eating Uncrustables and rubbing my beard against the mic. No one wants that either, because it'd be terrifying. For $5, you can become a YouTube member. I'd probably save you that by warning you away from Alekine's gun, or maybe Gene Rain, or maybe you watch the reviews. I don't know why, because they suck, but maybe you do. If you join now, we don't have to worry about those things. You also get access to the Patreon when it comes to the Discord. So become a YouTube member now, before I start having to put surprise oral sex-looking thumbnails on my reviews. And trust me, no one else wants that. So power up with ACG. Besides, it's for sure better than those POS earbuds YouTubers try to sell you. Why should you
do that process, like
it is
getting
here
it
as
approved?
well.
And
I'm in the fortunate boat that I have a hereditary genetic condition that I've had since birth. It's really well documented.
Dude, so do I, but I didn't get anything here. So it's always like nice
I
when
mean, you're also really hurt, I imagine, by the fact that you're an immigrant.
I'm in two places. Let me fix our video. Because when I reconnected, I disappeared and I just removed Silver completely.
But I think you guys are better with that kind of stuff as well.
Oh no, 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 no,
Like-
no, no, no.
No?
Oh no, 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 not with immigrants. No, we have the most stringent anti-immigration laws
Oh,
in Europe
wow.
and possibly the world.
No, but I meant with the social programs and stuff.
Now, I mean, somewhat yes, but certainly not for applying to immigrants.
Ah, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
So you're saying, what's up, everybody? Let me just fix our camera real quick. Sorry about that, guys. So what? So if I tried to come to, and as an American, if I tried to come there, you're saying it's hard even for anybody to become a citizen.
Become a citizen, yeah. Like if you're from outside of the EU, you need to deliver certain guarantees that you're not going to be like a strain on the system, as it were.
I'd be
like, for instance,
strain.
if you're Danish and you want to marry someone from outside of the EU, you basically have to pay a deposit of like $10,000 to $20,000 to the government.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, to even get your spouse here.
I don't even have $10,000 or $20,000 to my fucking entire name. Damn.
And if they're below the age of 24, you can't at all marry anyone outside of the EU.
Oh.
That's so weird. Anyway, sup everybody. Sorry, we had a little bit of we were trying to move our shit around. We had some technical issues, but we are here to talk about, let's see. There's really nothing that happened, so thanks for everybody showing up. We'll just talk about science the entire time.
Yeah.
We've got
not like the biggest game release or something.
We're post CD. So we were post CP. Now we're post CD for everything, but post Crimson Desert launch. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about post, or not post, but we'll talk about Starfield being announced for the PlayStation. I think it's number 3 on their most, pre-ordered list. So we'll talk about that. Talk about DLSS 5. Talk about some other games that released this week, like Death Stranding 2, which released yesterday. Just such a odd situation.
That one I will be getting into.
I think it's well worth it. From what I understand, it didn't sell the greatest day one when it originally came out. So my hope is that more people jump into it because it's a very good game. I highly enjoyed that title.
Yeah.
Thought it was a big jump from the other ones, but I mean,
I never
expected
you to be converted to the Death Stranding.
I think it just fixed all of the issues I had, or most of the issues I had.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that lack of consistent world building, because he had already built some of that world, made it so much easier, But so let's just jump into it. Sorry for that little bit of a debacle there at the starting. Crimson Desert. I think we'll say 80. We'll say 79 to 83 on Metacritic. Obviously, some people expected to do way worse. Some people expected to do way better. The stock market took a huge hit for them, which was interesting to me. I was talking to Lucitan prior to the podcast saying, I wish companies would wait, right, until the sold numbers, because it sold 2.5 million. So it's, it's obviously, like, if you're an investor, it's weird to respond to Metacritic. It's weird to respond to an arbitrary thing. And by the way, Metacritic doesn't even do YouTube. So, like, there's an entire, I guess you would say, presentation style that they're not even collecting in. Most reviews are divergent in any game, but in this one, there were people who were pointing out that they thought it was more divergent, which I would say day one it was. Then many titles will sort of have like your 40 and then your 90, 1 or 2. This one seems to have more of that split. I was average on it. People can ask questions. We're not going to spoil anything. We're going to sort of keep it on the down low here when it comes to spoilers. I'll give some hints out and some, I guess, tactics that definitely the game doesn't do the greatest at describing. And I appreciate everybody's comments on the walking the walk and the, especially because I was sick as a dog, the walking the walk in the video. But first I want to check in with Silver. What's happened? We haven't talked to you in 2 weeks. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It's been a week.
I think it's been 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah. What have you been playing and what have you been doing?
Actually, I've been getting back into playing Steep. In the wake of the Winter Olympics.
Very cool.
10-year-old game. at this point, which has been fun. It's a fun game to relax with. Also got quite heavily into Elden Ring again.
Night Rain or Elden Ring?
No, Elden Ring, just the original. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What caused that?
I think originally it was seeing Straven play it and talking to him about it, and then I played Night Rain again a little bit, and then I got into Elden Ring.
Very cool.
And just sort of started picking it up, and I thought, I haven't really played the DLC. Let's just get into that. And I've just been running different builds in it, switching around between different characters that I set up for like a lore build. That maybe this is a knight from like the Golden Order, or this is a Finger Maiden, or whatever, like lore builds that I think are fun within the narrative context of the game.
Gotcha. What about you, Johnny? Other than Crimson Desert, because we'll talk about that. What have you been? Has there been anything prior to that? There should have been, because it came out yesterday. But just checking.
Yeah. I mostly took time this week to play Resident Evil Requiem.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't finished it yet, but I've clocked in 16 hours. Been really enjoying it. And I kind of explore every nook and cranny in those games, so I expected it to take a lot longer than the 8 hours some people claimed. But even then, I think it's kind of ridiculous to say it would take 8 hours for a normal playthrough, like first playthrough of a normal gamer, someone who's not like trying to speed run or something. The game is quite chunky for a game of that genre. I actually feel like there's a lot of content in it, so I would never. I would never complain that like it doesn't have enough content or something.
Right. I mean, 8 hours is already like twice as long as the original Resident Evil.
And twice as long as the remake for 4.
Oh, wow. Yep.
So
3. Yeah.
3. I'm sorry. So listen, game discussion on length. I just don't care to have it. I don't really give a fuck. I think you guys play games differently than I do. And it's an arbitrary defining device that for the most part, unless it's super low, or super high, the nuance just can't continue to sort of, we just retread that ground so many times. But yeah, I felt it was more than enough content. But if somebody's a Resident Evil freak and they like it, I could see them, going through it quickly. Even Void, who I talked to, who's definitely in it, took longer on his first run, then got progressively faster because, he understood where to go.
Yeah.
And if you understand those things, like if you play a game enough, it's like going to a movie. You watch enough movies, you're like, this is the turn, right?
You know how it goes.
You know when the commercial's coming up. If you watch cable or streaming services enough, you can literally time down to the commercial by the way the people are talking. It's like, oh, ba-ba, and then commercial, So to me, it's not overly crazy that some people got through it a little bit quicker. But I think that was a fine length of time. Anything other than those two?
No, that's been mostly it. And great game. I think it's going to be up there with my favorite horror games that I've ever played. Not only Resident Evil, but
many others.
Yeah.
So, everybody? We got Jim, Dastardly Deagle, Rowdy Roo, Taiwanese Dave, American Jeremy. That's what I'm calling myself from now on. Game with a Passion Spooner, Nixie, Gentlestone. Yeah, I think that's right. I think I got that right. And many others. I appreciate it. But because we started a little bit late, I'm not going to read all of them, but I appreciate all you guys. Somebody said you didn't like the review. Oh, you did. Crimson Desert review. I appreciate the review. Just making sure there isn't anything here I missed. Seems like the market hadn't baked in a reasonable assumption. Yeah, that's true about Crimson Desert. Ranger says, as a guitar player myself, Johnny, that owns a Gibson Custom Black Beauty, I love your display.
Great choice, man. Great choice. The black Gibson, a staple, classic.
Yeah. You know what's weird, though? I'm not saying this is bad. There's so many classics in guitaring, and there's so many classics in violins. There's so many, well, maybe not violins. There's so many classics in music and stuff. It's like, what does a classic mean? It's just like there's so many different ones. You talk to anybody, there's so many classics. Guitars haven't been around for ages and stuff like that, but it is funny to hear somebody call something a classic, and you're like, God damn. They're, especially in guitars. Like you can sit somebody down, there'll be like 15 different, that's a classic. This is a classic.
It's just such an iconic look because
it's popular or was.
Those Gibson ones, just traditionally always have had the sunbursts and those kinds of colors.
Yeah.
And then when they came out with like just the pure black, and like sometimes they have the golden
people bought off on the black
stuff and
kind of thing.
Yeah. So that was always like a really cool, iconic look.
Isn't it crazy to think about it too? My color's aloft, whatever. Isn't it crazy that when you look at cars, the first cars that came out didn't do black? So a lot of people were getting like the light blues and the old lady shades in the house colors, you know, greens and puce and shit like that. And you're like, dude. And then black comes along and people are like, that's my jam. And then you'll get the person who jumps up and says black's not a color. And then you have to spend like 6 hours talking about science. It's like, dude, come on, man. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that we had a couple classic guitars. My brother did. He was definitely into guitar and couldn't play at all. Like it was terrible. Should never have touched one. But where I knew what you meant the moment you talked about the coloring and stuff like that. Yeah, Chuck Norris died today. You know why? Because he released Crimson Desert. He was alive and he waited. He was like he had to see it released, and then Chuck Norris passed off this earth. Yeah, it's sad, man. It's sad.
Wow.
Like, and he was doing interviews and shit recently. Like, you know, it's one of those things. Who knows what it was? But yeah, it was very, very sad to see him pass away. I was a big fan of Chuck Norris when I was growing up, man. He was always the shaggy looking dude. He always had the unkept hair, you know, fake mullets in the 80s, went to real ones in the 90s and 2000s. But yeah, it's sort of sad. So pour one out for Chuck Norris and get on your Total Gym that he sold you. I've got a Total Gym. I have no embarrassment mentioning I have a Total Gym. Still use it.
I think I had one of those growing up, man.
A Total Gym? Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
Somebody said Chuck took a nap, and I was like, no, Chuck walked out of the simulation. If there's anything, Chuck just walked out. Didn't have to program his way, didn't have to figure anything out. Chuck's like, I am done here. I'm leaving before shit gets crazy. So, Crimson Desert comes out. We got these reviews. I liked a lot about Crimson Desert. I also think there are a great number of issues that pop up a little bit later, especially when you go against bosses. I just found that out this morning. Speaking of Strevin. No, sorry, not Strevin. It was Swamp Donkey. He was... I love this game, you know, the controls are a little wonky, and then he met a boss, and he was like, oh, now I understand what people are talking about. And especially when you look at most games, there is something intangible and tangible about what you carry from the overworld into bosses, right? I think we can, you know, even if the boss has certain requirements, there's some things that go on. With Crimson Desert, what happens is there's a complexity and an awkwardness to the controls that become... If they're frustrating in the open world, wait till you try to do a triple jump puzzle with an aim, leap, grapple, and it's timed by stamina. Or you're facing a boss that is doing shit that you've just never seen before. And then you have what I talked about in the review, which is mystery. You can't figure out, am I wrong? Am I not supposed to be here? Is it a weak? It's very difficult to figure those things out, and I'm starting to see that crop up. In the last couple hours, I've seen people say, you're watching their tweets. It's like, I'm 3 hours in, I love it, and then they get 6 hours in or whatever, and they start facing a boss, and they're like, oh shit, you know. Now I sort of see where those complaints come from. It's one of the reasons why with all these games, whenever you talk to a reviewer, I see people getting pissy at reviewers all the time. But whenever you talk to a reviewer, the same thing with Valhalla. I got a lot of shit for not loving Valhalla day one. And Absy was one of those guys who was like, I don't get where you're coming from. And then I was like, well, play 60 hours and then come back to me. You know, actually experience the full game. And he did. And he was like, oh, damn. And I think with this one, the same thing could occur. And it happens with all games. But it's doing really well. 2.5 million sold. And the reviews are pretty much what I expected in totality. Like the score, I was talking to a certain person. I'm not going to say who because I don't know if they want me to say this, but they were guessing metas. And we were both right on with the meta. It'll adjust, I'm sure. But I think Steam is the lowest. Steam surprised me. Steam is... It doesn't surprise me because they brought up the issues that I expected, and it's at mixed, and I was like, okay. But I think it did surprise me because I thought a lot of people would either give it leeway, or it would be the opposite, and it would be like, you know, here's a ton of flack. And especially because controls plus crashes or bug issues usually indicate that game's going to have a hard run. So maybe you could say mixed is a good sign. And that is honestly what I mean. It could be that mixed is a good sign, indicating people like some parts of it so much that the parts that they're experiencing. Oh, Solar, you're muted, or Silver, you're muted, unless that's on my side.
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, in spite of its issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what I was saying. Agreeing with you.
So let's talk to Johnny.
By the way,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for the record, I think yesterday or the day before we were in voice chat, and I called 82%. That was going to be the score. And I'm seeing 80% on Open Critic. So
you were
as far as
two?
the Price is Right, I think I was, was right there.
Yeah, because Reg said 83. You guys
True.
were trying to one up each other.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm extremely early, so I'm very hesitant to say anything besides it's incredibly beautiful. And I did watch most of your Walking the Walk as well. I was really impressed. By the way, you knew a lot of technical stuff about it, which was cool. I had no idea about a lot of the different programming stuff behind the scenes there. That was interesting. But yeah, just looking at the distance, it's incredible. It's kind of hard to explain, actually, if people don't see it themselves, because of course you've done it in other games where you look at the distance and you can go there, but there's a really tangible feeling of object permanence because of the lack of pop-in in the real. I know in the immediate vicinity we see a lot of pop-in, but in terms of the distant objects, it's insanely consistent as you walk towards them. Stuff is in the same position. It's not flickering or creating issues like that, and you see the shadows way in the distance and stuff. It's incredibly convincing. The one thing I'm still kind of worried from your review and other reviews is that contrast between the mobs being very easy enemies, almost like Dynasty Warriors level, and then the bosses being full lock-in mode. That contrast is just awkward. I don't know how I'm going to experience it myself. If it's going to be awesome, good combo and maybe something new and cool. But so that was one of the things I was worried about, alongside the sort of learning curve of all the different commands and stuff in the game and systems and everything. It's a bit overwhelming.
I would agree with I think object permanence is a big deal, but I think what's even a bigger deal in Crimson Desert is not only the distance in which it occurs, but it's the idea that it's not just a small amount and that you're seeing a ton of pop in on those items. So if you see a tower, the level of sort of a discrete LOD translation is so minute that it feels like a real person would see an object as it got closer and closer and closer. And so there's something about it that just feels like there's a competency there that is difficult for a lot of games to hit, other than Red Dead 2, which had a very smart JPEG switch out LOD imposter system. With Crimson Desert, not to get too technical, they do something really cool. They have an 8x8 grid. And then what they do is they basically take any of the faraway models and they take 8 samples of it. And then those samples are the imposters. And as you're walking closer, so you're not just getting a front on JPEG. And so what happens is they're able to basically take those and then they bake them in they're not necessarily baking, but they're translating them into groups. And then they're applying shadows to them. So the shadows apply as well, far away. And they apply in a way, and then that offers optimizations. And so you're able to see the world. And looking back after 5 hours of traveling is such a sexy thing. And it's why I talk about why I like Alan Wake 1 more than 2, despite 2's improvements. Alan Wake 1, the ability to be at the radio station and look back and go, I had a fight and a big cutscene right there, and be able to point at it, is a level of permanence that is well beyond most games. And obviously your Red Dead can have that as well. But yeah, it's one of the things that absolutely appeals to me. They did a really good job. That minutia pop in is fucking rough, man. That minutia pop in is, and it's small, Johnny, which shouldn't bother you, but it's fucking everywhere. And I was telling Silver and Johnny prior to the podcast, we've seen games that have sliders for LOD, sliders for pop-in, or detail. Watch Dogs, I think, was one of these that had an additional slider for extra detail. And I wish you could just turn that off, because I could live without the little bits of rock and pebbles and, because it doesn't even fade in. It's just there. And so when you get this fade in everywhere else that is very valid and a really, I think, a comprehensive image, and then you go to like ba 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 everywhere. Every game has a trade-off.
It's so constant too.
It's constant, but every game has a trade-off, and you'll get somebody bitching about that stuff, and I get it, but don't hinge on it. That's like one thing, and other games may not have that, but their far draw distance is worse. And I got to tell you, if there's a trade-off, I will take the trade-off that Crimson Desert does over pretty much any of them. I would love a slider, but come on. Like that ability to climb a tower 6 hours away, especially if you're going up and down the mountains and climbing, and how long that distance can be, that's fucking phenomenal. And they did a great job of the lighting too. So it just feels, it feels like it's all.
And it's also that the stuff you see in the distance is really interesting. So you might see a full castle, that's like really cool. Like, oh, dude, I want to go explore that. So it's not like some other games where, you're seeing stuff in the distance, but it's like shacks, Like there's some really cool stuff. And it's such a huge map too, by the way. It's overwhelmingly big.
Yeah.
Crazy.
For me, it's just a question of like that when that kind of thing is so constant, it's something that breaks my immersion in the game, similar to you mentioned Alan Wake 2, similar to the squeaky shoes I talked about in Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Where it's something I can't stop noticing when I start to notice it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it just fundamentally sort of breaks my experience with the game and my engagement with the game.
It's noticeable, man. There is just no way around it. And every game's got a noticeable whatever. A game might be amazing, then have level transitions, right? A game might do this and have this pop in. So yeah, it's like, it's noticeable. Somebody said the wind's fine. It's a little gale force 5, but listen, I talked about this in the Walking the Walk. I want my level in a fantasy game to look like an asthmatic's nightmare. I like particles in the air. I like, because I grew up on Legend, and if you watch that movie, anybody who's got asthma would die within a quarter of a second, because it's just pollen. It's just a fertile world. So I crank mine. But it can look busy or messy or whatever. I like that. I didn't have a problem really with the wind. There's a lot of it, but it also continues miles away. And so at some point you have to be like, you know what? This is just sort of cool. I talked about Walking the Walk. It's not at the level of Horizon Zero Dawn, where the wind would blow down a valley, or the Ghost games, obviously. But a game that's doing so much different things, it is what it is. But there's some wind there. What about the controls, Johnny?
Yeah, they're kind of awkward at first. Oddly enough, the precision jumping I don't find to be an issue.
Yeah, no.
In fact, sometimes it's kind of cool to have the actual like choice of where we're gonna land precisely. But some stuff has been a bit like, okay, I'm already forgetting the prior combination, and now I got 3 different new combinations I need to remember for different stuff. And then it can also like come up at different times where you basically have to remember that thing, and if you don't, you could like get stuck on something, and it might not be clear to you what you have to do exactly.
Can I point out one of the craziest combos I've seen in a game in years, which is in Crimson Desert, which is, now bear with me, reviews, us talking, this is forewarning people. So somebody is inevitably going to be like, that's not an issue. I'm talking about when you don't know about it. Left bumper, right bumper, hold, tap left bumper is one of the fucking most nuts combos I've ever seen in my life. I read that 11 times going, they had to have, so because I thought there's no way they're saying to hold and tap it at the same time, I used every other button on my controller until I realized, nope, that is what they mean. And I saw it. So listen to this. We had 12 people, I think, streaming in the chat channel yesterday. Every single person Every single person to a man, I watched them get there, and I just waited. I waited until I heard frustration, and then I was like, FYI, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh my God, seriously? And I was like, yeah. And then the next person would come up, and they were so busy playing the game, they didn't hear one another. They didn't hear me helping one another. So it just went down the line of every person going like, what the fuck? Like, I don't understand that combo. And by the way, there's a special move that is basically those two buttons at different speeds, so you can hit it on accident. So I've been on a cliff and accidentally attacked when I meant to do the shine of the blade. And, you know,
man.
Yeah. So that's a pretty awkward moment as well. Have you fought a boss, Johnny?
No, I have not yet. So that's why I can't talk too much about how it's going to feel. So far, I'm just kind of chilling in terms of combat because it's just the mobs.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Now, by the way, scores ignored for a second. I think reviews are context. So you can ignore it. You know, you can be forewarned. That's really what a review is about, is like, am I okay with this thing this person said? But you're taking in that data, right?
Yeah.
So now that I've warned people, I'm sure, again, like this, somebody be like, that's easy. It depends on what boss you face first, too, because technically this game is sort of open. But yeah, I've already been seeing it where people are like, oh my God, I see what you mean by being easy or being in some way generally doable. And then you fight a boss. And there's a couple bosses I have some bets with some people about like what the response will be when they get to some of these puzzles or bosses where they're like,
because you could go to like a really strong boss first, depending on where you go, right? There's no real
there's it would
gating
be
or anything.
It would be the mission or an open guide that you run into. Yeah, it would be that. The other thing with Crimson Desert, so I'm going to paraphrase this because to protect the weak and the infirm, I'm going to paraphrase this because this is about the 55th DM I've got to talk about this, so we're going to hit it shortly. Someone stated that they somehow magically knew that journalists were going to score the game hard or poorly because it doesn't explain things. And that they just absolutely knew. That's the most I'll say about the original post. Let me explain some fucking facts just real quick. I helped and was involved in multiple discussions with YouTubers who are great at games, who were confused and stuck. So that's bullshit. Number two, most journalists now revolve around websites that have videos. So guess what they are? A creator. Most creators, or many, have websites where they take their video, like a Digital Foundry or so on, and they put them on a channel. So they are and they're doing interviews with major companies. So they're doing journalistic actions. Doesn't mean they went to school for journalism. I have seen people stuck on Life is Strange and not realizing like how to talk to somebody or to get a certain thing. I've seen it on Division. I've seen it on every game. That is a complete bullshit style of thought process. That is pretending that somehow there is a very specific delineation like sex and that you're saying this person is this, so therefore they fit here. I tease the Cuphead journalist all the time. I found that funny. Doom's footage was funny. But never in a million years would I pretend that an entire group blank. And that is, by the way, also, if anybody was in the reviewer Discord, is a lie. That is a person who lied. That is a lie. I saw that, and I want to point that out because that bothered me, even though I'm not technically a journalist. I've interviewed people, so you could say I did some actions like a journalist would, but I'm not trained on it. The idea that people are magically good at something is also completely not right. I have played shooter games with people who have won esports events, and if they are brand new in the game, will die at a much higher level and will be confused by situations. That is usually an attempt to, in some way, color people's impressions of your own content. So you're like, I said this, other people are saying this, it's for sure this problem. especially when you try to delineate this and pretend that those situations didn't happen, which I fucking sat through and watched. That was an adding to a toxicity that was already existing, and it bothers me to no end. And I'll be toxic, but that kind of toxicity is just well over the top. It's not only saying I'm right, you're wrong, but oh, look at me, blah blah blah. And you look at the situation, you're like, that seems like bullshit. And then you see normal gamers saying the same thing. So now it's even worse because the game's at mixed and people are having those real issues. So do you go and apologize to everybody and say, you know, well, I guess everybody else are all the people who had issues on Steam or people in my chat journalists now because they also had issues? No, it's because you fucking opened your mouth and you said something idiotic and have been caught. That kind of stuff pisses me off because Crimson Desert has its own issues and we should talk about those issues. You should not sit there and try to pretend that they don't exist because your score is something else. Instead, just say, I'm a man or a woman or whatever, and my score is what I thought of it. Like, I've never read anybody else's score on this game and been like, well, they must not have blank. Like, that's idiotic. It's like my experiences
it's also
were different.
really toxic when you think about it. You're saying like
pissy.
you're gonna be bad at this game because you're a part of this group.
Yeah, it is.
It's also to me tantamount to saying, oh, you can't complain about going to the opera and watching the Barber of Seville and complaining that they don't have a program for you where you explain
right
the plot and whatnot because you don't speak Italian. And then you don't understand the opera.
Yeah.
And then you complain that there's no program to help you understand because you don't speak Italian. You shouldn't be able to do that. You can't do that as a journalist or whatever. It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, it is bizarre. Moving on.
It's classic gatekeeping.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I get it. If somebody's consistently doing lackadaisical content and so they do that, that's fine. Whatever. Like, it's sort of them. But if somebody doesn't know that and they see those things, and I'm sure it won't be the only one that you see that you're like, that's an interesting thought process. And interesting by I mean completely full of, unfactual bullshit. But you see something like that and you're like, that's an odd thought process. But you do look at it and you do see people who are loving it, really enjoying it. And that's what I got out of it was I had some issues. So I said, wait, I had some bugs, which you guys know me. Like bugs that cost me 6 hours. So like if this was a crash and I loaded right back in, that'd be one thing. But I had puzzles that didn't activate, some pretty odd stuff. But here's the thing. If you don't like nuance, go away right now because I'm going to offer some nuance here. They're amazing at patching. Somebody brought up it's because they're an MMO company. That could be true. I'm not. I don't.
They had a lot of practice.
Yeah, I don't really technically care about anything past. You guys know me. I don't care how many people made a game either. I think that's idiotic. I'm paying a certain amount of money. I'm not going to sit there and look at the social program for the company. So I can just say they patched a shit ton of stuff. They've listened to every single person. There was more than enough time. The other thing, there wasn't enough time to review the game. If you work Monday through Friday and refuse to work weekends, and it didn't come on a Monday at 8 a.m., right? So I'm literally saying that. If it came at Monday at 8 a.m., that's the way you work, fine. There were multiple people who had no issue. Like that was another thing that was like, oh, it must have been this. No. Those people just scored the game what they scored the game. Deal with it. It's context. And it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it seems to me it's very weird. I saw people saying, oh, Carrick was more truthful. Maybe I explained something better, but that doesn't, it's just my experience with the game. Johnny and I have argued for hours about whatever, some games, Silver and I, Reg, Absy, Go Burns. It doesn't mean that they're lying. It's such an odd thing. I will say I appreciate people pointing out that I did blur quests, and I've tried to always blur tests.
People in the chat are saying the game doesn't have remappable controls. Is that true?
I did controller and a bit amount. I didn't have to remap controls, so I don't know. I don't think it does though, because I saw somebody. I played keyboard and mouse for a while, but I didn't have to remap them. But I did see other people complaining about that. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I think it feels way better on
definitely a deal breaker for
controller,
me.
but that's also me. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was going to say on console, you don't have any ability to remap stuff because I heard that from someone.
Consoles, you almost never do. I mean,
Yeah,
you do
almost
sometimes, but a lot of games don't. Yeah,
Pretty
and they
rare.
need to day one.
And
Yeah.
on PC, honestly, I haven't even tried, although some stuff is a bit awkward, like we were talking about. I also didn't have like a clear alternative that was better that I could think of. So I just kind of accepted and I'm learning the controls as they are. I'm not thinking that, ooh, if I reassign that to, to X, it's going to be way better. No. It's just that you kind of have to learn these combinations and like when to use different things more so than in my opinion, like the binds are fine for controller. I've been not having issues with that, but yeah, it's just more so like you're a bit overwhelmed with a lot of different things.
I think also when
It is
you
a definitely issue with potential for accessibility, though.
Yeah. And I think that's the big problem for me with why, like, I do believe in remappable controls. I also believe I can play without them. But I do believe that Crimson, this is the honest truth, other than the X button, which I'm going to talk about next, which fuck that thing. But technically,
context sensitivity.
All games should have remappable just because. Just because. There's no reason not to. And if a person is accustomed to playing lefty and righty and somebody doesn't have a left or a right, that kind of thing. So that's a big deal. I would say that my biggest complaint with that game is that it's got the same thing Witcher had before it was patched, which is the button to hold to pick up items, the button to jump is the same button. And you end up looking like you're doing fucking plyometrics for an hour. And I was watching Reg jump a lot. And I was like, and he's like, I know. He's like, it's this awkward. And then they have this weird little fade in almost for the pickup items. There's all these weird little idiosyncrasies and delays and stuff like that I firmly understand where people are coming from on those. Well, 100%. I won't say, like, if a game doesn't have remappable controls, I'd never be like, wait for a sale just for that. But that is another thing that I think people need to understand for the context of going into it and realizing that it's a situation that, like, could potentially stymie you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to read a couple, and then we'll jump on. I'm going to skip the names. We don't need to know the names of people. This is Mosey says, for me so far, the control so far has been atrocious. I hope the rest of the game's world mechanics keep me hooked. My biggest gripe with Crimson Desert is not having remappable controls in some of their presets. The person who said this, apology tours are going to be the entire theme of this fucking podcast. So, yeah, supposedly they tried to roll it back. Yeah, you said what you said. Like, deal. There's another one that players will want to be cautious about. Every time I've opened the map and zoomed all the way out, it's crashed. Oh, let me tell you one thing about the map that's weird. Teleport locations, at least the last time I played last night, you zoom out and they disappear. You have to be at a certain, like, 3/4 distance from the map up to still see the teleport location. Somebody else can tell me if that's still there or not. This is a good one. I want to answer this real quick. Ranger says, why aren't game testers picking up on these? They did. So many of the complaints that people brought forward were back and forth a little bit. Like, this is what the developer wants, which I understand and I fully support. They have to deal with the whirlwind, right? They have to deal with the repercussions. But whatever they want to do is what they want to do, and you'll review it or experience it, and your response is valid, and their decision is valid. However, I will give them kudos that many times they did look and go, okay, nobody had an issue prior. Here's what I brought up to a particular group when we were talking right before the reviews went live. It felt a little bit like there was a possibility, only a possibility, I'm not saying this is true, that the people who were playing it and testing it before we got hands-on were accustomed to the game. And they had fleshed out those mental blocks that a new person was experiencing day one. And I feel like that's pretty fleshed out in what we're seeing. I could be wrong, and I probably am, but it like, having done a ton of QA testing myself and worked for companies, I did Watch Dogs, I did a couple for Ubisoft, I've done a couple for some other, I can tell you straight up, You'll bring something up and they'll be like, well, nobody's brought that up before. And I'm like, okay, but how long have they been testing this game? If they were here during gray boxing, their brain is, they're wired for the expectations they built up over this particular time. So it is possible. It's a good question, though. Let's see. I know of multiple things those with early access had fixed before launch due to feedback. Yep, very much so. Free Claim. Hang on. Free Claim says something. You can remap keyboard and mouse, is what he says. Probably a patch, but I want to point that out. Go ahead. What were you saying, so?
I will also say, just in general, that most reviewers don't really account for disability points of view for game reviews for natural reasons, because most game reviewers are not disabled or don't struggle with disabilities,
and
so they don't necessarily take that into account when they make the reviews.
And it's completely true that even me, when I started, I had a lot of friends who were in the military who, just because of my friends, had friends who were in the military who were missing a limb. And even I was more focused on that when I started. And then over time, haven't talked to them as much. And, there's 1,000 things you need to watch for in a review. Otherwise, the review would be 10 hours long. And
it's colored by your perspective for obvious reasons.
Yeah. And even I had my own issues, and I am able to use the controller. The way it's set up. And even I was, so yeah, it'd be difficult. I guess sometimes I do assume incorrectly, obviously, that if I'm having issues, then you just add difficulty depending on whatever your accessibility issue may be too. But that's not necessarily a fair way to say it. I think it would be great if somebody made a YouTube channel that was called Accessibility Reviews, and they just covered, because you wouldn't even have to review the full game. You could just review the accessibility options. Which I think would be, that would actually be that's actually a very good idea. Maybe I'll do that.
I do have a friend that
I'm involved with just for stores and restaurants and utilities for reviewing that and letting people know, can you access this as a disabled person?
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. I knew the control. This is Spooner. I knew the controls were gonna be interesting when one of the first combos to press is R2, R1. There we go. It's such a weird ass. It's such a weird ass situation, man. It's one of those. It's just one of the oddest button combos I think I've ever seen. Johnny was saying that the discrete jump wasn't a problem. I really didn't have a problem with that either. It's more that there are times where you're trying to sort of feel more dexterous, and you're like, I'm just going to do the normal jump, and that thing is pretty rough sometimes because it is a heavier game. Now, I like the heaviness. I don't actually have an issue with that. I know some people do. I don't want every game to feel whatever it feels. And everybody's going to be different on that. I'm just saying, for me personally. But that particular jump mixed with a normal jump was confusing because there were two. And we're going to talk about the mystery of this game in a second. But because there is the game's so mysterious, you can't tell which of the jumps you're supposed to use. Does that make sense to you, Johnny, of what I'm trying to describe?
It does.
Okay.
Yep.
So the basic Silver jump is confusing because you'll be at a platform going, well, is this can I run and then things are moving? And you're like, and then things drop? You'll jump on one, it'll go down, and you're like, okay, so I can't use the discrete jump here. I need to use the sort of on the fly jump, but on the fly, will it get as far? And then you get a double jump, which is great. Super good skill for some of the platforming. So, but yeah, even the double jump, even the discrete two styles of jump is a little. And
sometimes you'll over jump stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Robert says, thank you, Carrick, for the Walk in the Walk video you did on Crimson Desert. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate everybody saying that because I don't think I felt that bad in so many years. I don't know what was going on, so I barely got through that. So I'm glad people like it. A lot of people on Reddit were confused about not having to hold down. Oh yeah, run. Okay, the run is weird.
Yeah,
it's a weird game. I think we're at that point.
I guess that's a Red Dead thing, right? Where you're tapping A.
Old games,
a little
right?
bit from
Didn't
that.
Old GTAs have you tap A? I could be wrong, and it's been a long time since I played a GTA 3 or whatever.
Nope,
I don't know.
they very much did.
They very much
from
did.
GTA 3 onwards.
Okay. Yeah, so there you go. It's
definitely.
Yeah. Ranger says it's been real tough. It's okay. It must be tough to deal with the and manage the pressure to release and start generating income versus quality control. Yeah, I think so. With testers in particular, I think that and companies, you get these things, and then you sort of wonder, are these guys just not getting it, but the whole group will get it? Because some people, like I had no issues with some of the puzzles I saw other people having issues with. I was like, okay, no, and I would never, by the way, I never looked and went, that person's stupid. That person's a journalist. I was just like, no, that I get it. That person's having an issue there. Dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been streaming and somebody's like, Carrick, it's to your left. And I look to the left, I'm like, how did I miss blank thing? Yeah, humans. It happens, man.
Yep.
Not everybody's perfect instantly, and no one is, and you're a liar if you say you are. Spanky Steve, $5 super chat. Random question. Do you plan on having Co back? Yes, that's great. I DM'd Co 2 days prior to, I don't know if he's answered because I don't go on Twitter and look at my DMs very often, but I will. Thank you for reminding me. But I did DM him to have him come on and talk about it. I thought that would be fun. Yeah. So Rockstar games are even worse with button mashing. Okay. So let's talk about the knowledge system. What do you think, Johnny? What do you think about Cliff McDuff, the world's most egregiously named NP or main player character? What do you think about him not knowing what wine is and learning about every single item in the game? Well, not every, but majority. What do you think of the knowledge system?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm sold yet on the character. I don't love the accent, just like Cards on the Table. But I never have. But I'm sure it will grow on me. I think the knowledge system is interesting. The idea of like observing to learn skills and that kind of stuff speaks to me. And I can't wait to see how that works for things like farming. Because I've heard you can do, you know, all these types of things with like farming and fishing, all these types of side tasks that I really enjoy. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I'm just way too early to know how that's all going to pan out because right now it just seems so overwhelming, right? There's going to be all these things you can do. It's almost like an MMO level of offering for activities. You know, like MMOs where you can choose to spend 100 hours in, let's say, fishing or crafting, right? You could kind of like pick one and then choose to spend all your time in that if you wanted. That's kind of how it feels to me looking into it now.
Okay, so he brought it up, not me. So I will point something out about the MMO thing. Right now, that's a huge discussion back and forth. Somebody said it feels like an MMO light, and then somebody else was like, there is not a single thing in this entire game that is any way, shape, or form MMO. And I'm looking at the game going, no. Okay, listen, the developers themselves have stated that they made sure that there are parts in there that sort of speak to their heritage, which, by the way, is an MMO.
Yeah.
I have no issue with it. I love it. I love the depth. I love that almost every activity has 3 or 4 steps, and you have to learn something. There's a little bit of new. I love that, man. But pretending that there aren't some MMO stuff, and then somebody else said there's absolutely no grinding. And it was funny because I didn't even know somebody said that. I got a DM from another YouTuber. It was like, dude, did you just see that they said that there was no grinding? I was like, yeah, I have no clue how that would even be possible. There is grinding, but to me, grinding is such a terrible way of describing activities that are repetitive in a game. Number one, usually grinding to me means no real expertise, as in it's an action that maybe is just a button press or
like mindless,
a little bit more passive. Yeah, those are in there. There are things that if you want, you will be grinding. But guys, it's a game. It's a game. I mean, Monopoly is grinding. Every game you play, chess is grinding. They're grinding. So it really depends. You could say, I don't think there's really a game that doesn't have grind in some. I get what people are saying, so I'll take that back. I do think there are games with no real grind. But any game like this, it feels like in general there will always be a process of grind for a particular player who wants a particular thing.
Yep.
And here there are times where you need a particular thing. So I will say that there's
even Red Dead 2 has grind.
Even Red Dead 2 has grind. Yeah. But I will tell you, there are some crazy secrets in this game, guys. Listen, I have my issues. There are some fucking, I'm not going to say them, but there are a couple that somebody's doing something to chat with bounties, and I'm like, hey, there's something, if you do this, this happens. They were like, are you fucking kidding? That was awesome.
What do you make of the puzzles? Because I've heard, a lot of people got stuck on puzzles, and some people love them. It seemed like you liked them overall, and they were like interesting and cool to do. But
what did I say? Nut grinding or nut clean? Or I said something about nuts.
Mind bending or something.
Mind bending, yeah. Because I just hit record and talk. But whatever happened, whatever I said is true. There's some puzzles where I was like, fucking
lost your mind.
No, I literally looked at the puzzle by stepping to the side of the computer to like get a different angle, like a chess player. Even though it's a 2D screen,
wow.
I'm not lying. There are
you get up from the board
where I was like, "What in the fuck am I fucking what?" And I would look at it and I'd be like, "Okay," and I would try something, and you know how Tomb Raider, if you don't grab, you fall, right? Or that kind of thing. Where something would happen, I'd be like, "Okay, well that was a total failure state. What I tried was a total failure state." That is one place where Crimson Desert does punish people. There are total failure states in this, where it is very difficult to retry because the game is absolutely in a shambles at retrying anything. It fucking sucks. Going to a boss and sitting through a cutscene that can't be skipped but can be fast forwarded slightly faster. By the time you get to the boss, you're like, how did he kill me again? And by the way, I'm not saying I have that short term of memory. I'm saying because things are going on the screen, including fighting between you and I forgot when the real fight started sometimes at some bosses because there was so much hullabaloo that by the time I got there, I was like, oh, yeah, no, this will be the action moment. Also, the resurrection can fuck off. I'm sorry. That is a bad
because
system.
they hit you, right?
They hit you.
You said they...
And they're in the middle of a combo. I think I showed footage in this. I tried to keep a lot of the boss stuff separate. There's so many bosses, doesn't matter. But if you heal, this one boss has I think it's about a 4 or 5 hit combo and then a massive, and you're worried about the time. So you're like, okay, do I resurrect or do I sit through a minute? Fucking, I'll resurrect. And it only gives you 30% health. And as I was healing, there's a couple dozen times where I just see this fucking giant hand and I watch that circle filling up and I'm like,
it's going to hit me, isn't it?
And I'm watching the animation of the character to guess when I'm going to be hittable. And I'm like, you piece of shit. And I just as boom, and you fly off to instant death again. And you're like, I just wasted that, man.
Do you get your items back?
If you restart, but not if you only have a certain number of those in that battle. So you do if you restart and watch the cutscene again, but you don't.
Yeah.
If you don't. Yeah.
They need to patch that up, man, so you can skip cutscenes.
And I told them that. I was like, guys, well, no, I agreed with somebody else. They posted before me, and I was like, yeah, I think that is...
Because that's an easy one to reduce frustration.
Yeah, especially because the bosses ain't like, easy. Jet Black Ninja, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. It says, hey, Silver, happy to see you on as always. Hope you have been well. And then Johnny A sent the Best Gaming Podcast gift membership. Thank you very much for doing that. Jim Milton received that. What I love is when sometimes somebody will do a subscription, like a subscription, and I'll go to a person who's in the Discord, and I'll be like, man, they need to fix that. They need to fix that. Glad I don't have to rush a review for this. I can see it getting really frustrating in a time crunch. Yeah, there was no time crunch, so at least for this one. I mean, I guess there is if you just meander around, but I'm playing a game. It's my job. There wasn't for us. You're
locking in.
Yeah, I did ask multiple people what they thought, and most of them were fine. I think the big problem is, do you edit yourself? If you do, could be hard. If you don't, possibly easier because you just say, here's my footage. I edit in a very particular way, and I name files in a very particular way. So mine was done 2 days prior to the game. But I did actually have to change something because a patch came in 2 hours, and I was like, I got to go check if this fixed my shit.
Also, frankly, not a lot of reviewers finish games, and I noticed this a lot when I watch some of the outlets.
Almost everybody said impressions though on this one. I feel like they've learned that. I feel like they did. I feel like almost everyone I saw was like, I'm 100 hours in. They didn't say, these are my impressions so far.
Yeah, but the good ones definitely give that context.
And then SC Semir says, I'm on a delay, but as always, I want to thank this show for all they do. I always love y'all's discussions. Thank you very much. Ranger says, I want to hear from each of you. What has been your week of gaming? What have you... Oh, we talked about that at the starting, my friend. We already covered that. unfortunately. But yeah, let's see.
It's been a great time for games, dude. I mean, between
dude, it's
Resident
nuts.
Evil, Neo 3 was fun.
It's nuts.
You know, now this.
Yeah, it's nuts. Listen, I had bugs and
Good year.
some cumbersomeness, and I'm telling you, I still enjoyed. I talked about it other than the teleport, which they now have patched.
Yeah, I think it comes through the review that you did.
Yeah,
I enjoy, dude. It's my type of game, I guess, too. The exploration, and I have no problem sitting down for 24 hours in a row and playing a game without turning it off. Like I sort of eat that shit up, and I was
lock in.
I dis the fuck appeared too. Like I disappeared. It was crazy. I found most YouTubers were positive on the game. Journalists for companies seemed harsher. I mean, it might be true, but I saw like 6 reviews where they were actually saying that they were, but they're journalists I follow, but they were very much liking it. But yeah, I don't think there's a difference. Half of the journalists we're talking about right now did videos. It's just people read the articles. Maybe it's writing that causes it. When you read an article, whether it be the score, because a lot of journalists didn't give a score, or they said, we have 100 hours in or whatever. So, also I would say this is very long. You're looking at probably a normal player's 70 to 80. And then if you want to, the 100% thing doesn't matter. Achievements don't matter because this game has its own activities that you could max out. Like I joked last night saying, if you want to pet every dog, I don't even know if you can, because I think it probably randomly generates some. So I don't even know if you could like complete in that way. But it's a monster. It's a monster game. What other things, Johnny? Tell me this. You're playing the game. Let's say the first time you played it and you turned it off. What's something that stuck with you? Like really?
Yeah, the stuff we talked about like the long distance stuff. But it was kind of cool that the first thing you do in the game is someone prompting you to walk slower to look around, which I found oddly cool. So you're crossing this long bridge, and the guy's like, it's a beautiful place. You know what? Why hurry through this? Take your time, look around. I don't know if it's the first time that's happened, but it's just that.
You're talking when you both are on the horses over the bridge, and he looks to the left and says, "Yeah, I knew that." That also hit me a little like, oh, interesting. Because
there's something oddly, maybe ironically uncommon about what you do in the walks, which is actually walking, right? And like looking around, taking your time with taking stuff in. And that's very organic the way you do it, because you're literally just walking around and like going where the vibe takes you. And yet it's ironic how uncommon that is. So it's like organic for you and how you do it, but it's not organic for, let's say, most gamers, because what most gamers will do is they're running, right? I mean, hey, we're going somewhere, we're fast traveling, right? And this idea of like taking stuff in, I think it's so cool. I absolutely love it. And when you do have these awesome natural landmarks and stuff you want to explore in the future, taking it all in, I love that they're highlighting that as like the starting point. That stuck with me. And I think just in general, the ethos of the game being that really is one of the big strengths, like one of the big draws for the game.
I think one of the things that bothers me, and I'm going to say it, but I bet you everybody else is either not noticed or doesn't care, but I'm just going to say I do care, is the audio is definitely not great. Especially in ambient locations. You'll go to a waterfall, there'll be almost no waterfall sound. You'll go into a building, there'll be a ton of people talking, but not talking. You can't hear them at all. It'll just be silent inside of a room, which is very disconcerting. It feels like this is a dangerous place. Were you going to ask something, Silver?
No, it was just something that popped up for me.
Oh,
sorry.
So those can be a little bit off-putting, and I think that it's the one gap the game has. Weirdly enough, all this other stuff, I feel like it's once you sort of come to grips with this is an odd game, it's not, you sort of come to grips with that. The audio stuff, I could not, I just could not come to grips with it. It absolutely hindered what I was experiencing. And I checked every system. I was like, is it an audio bug on my side? Is it a driver issue? Like, what is going on with this? But you'd walk into a place where people are arm wrestling and they're gesturing, or gesturing, they're gesturing. And they're gestures too, or they're gestures too, but they were gesturing everywhere and there's just nothing.
Just a lack of sound effects in general?
Just like in general, just in a lot of the buildings, there's just no, and you go outside and there's ducks quacking and birds flying by and owls, and you're like, God damn, this is a lot. And then you go into a lot of those areas where you expect to hear that hubbub and that sort of the vibe of a location that fakes a lot of times, you know, which is fine, but they'll fake voices and stuff, and you'll hear that. You have to go. You want to go? And unfortunately, to me, it is a real hindrance. It is a very big hindrance to the atmosphere of the game. It's pretty immersion breaking in any game where that happens. But please test it if anybody's playing. I would love for you to see if it's patched. I didn't see in the patch notes, but if that's been patched, it would really please me to see if there was just some kind of bug when it comes to the channeling and now it's playing. Because it was in noticeable places too. It was in noticeable places. What did you think about so you didn't love the accent? Have you got the camp?
Yeah.
What do you think about the interactivity between characters in the camp? Because personally, I enjoyed it a great deal, and I thought that's where some of the better writing was, but I know some people hate some of the characters in that camp. So,
yeah, I think in general, walking around in the cities, in the camp and stuff has been really well done. There's quite a lot of dialogue, and it seems quite alive. I don't know. They do the fakery, so that like the perception overall is that it's quite busy. Like people are doing some stuff, people are moving around. They do it quite well. I know that like if I stop to look, I'm gonna see the
how the sausage is
the
made.
Seams.
Yeah,
how the sausage is made. But I think the impression in the cities is really good. I was comparing it to like Dragon's Dogma, and I think it's just a lot better in cities than Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the most performant game I've played in years. Like,
yes.
It was weird to be getting 70, 80 plus FPS without DLSS and being like...
And dude, and I put it all on cinematic, and I'm running it in 4K. I do have DLSS on, I think quality mode, and I have the path tracing. The
reconstruction.
Ray reconstruction.
Yeah.
It looks incredible with ray tracing, and that thing is it's running at like 80 FPS in 4K with a 5080 RTX, and dude, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's so nice to not have a game drop out at the one time it matters, which is when a bunch of shit's on screen. Because normally when a bunch of shit's on screen, it's fucking enemies. And you're like, it's the one time they dropped a 40 in a lot of games. You're like, oh my God. So for the most part, consoles seem to, I saw a couple of people have issues with consoles. And then I watched a stream yesterday where a person played for like 6 hours and there wasn't a single bump. So, you know, I don't know how that occurs or whatever. I didn't get to see anybody doing, no, I did. I did see PlayStation as well. I saw a bunch of Xbox folks streaming it, but Hardware Unbox put out an optimization guide for this game. What the fuck would you even need? Like, what would you even
optimization? Just set everything to cinematic.
Yeah, and then turn it down if you're having FPS. Like, I mean, I guess I think of optimization guides like INI files and stuff because I don't think this game really needs it other than just the normal settings. But I don't know. I know that there are things ingoing that are not, I think he means ongoing, that are not ideal. But when I saw the DLSS 5 and how real the potential for for how games could look, I was blown away. I wouldn't use it and everything, but it's cool. What else about Crimson Desert? Weapons. What do you think about the weapons and the attacks and just the overall fighting? Do you like, dropping somebody on their head?
I don't have much on that yet because I'm just too early. But I think it takes some getting used to. The movement reminds me a bit of The Witcher, where you were saying there's a momentum. That's a good way to describe it because every movement you're doing there's some inertia. So you can't just like, if you're going in a direction, backing out from that is not like instant,
Right.
like in a Souls game or something, right? So there's like some weight to everything, and you have to get used to that. Your dodge is not the fastest, so you might feel like, well, I can't really dodge like super responsively to certain attacks, for example, right? If you're looking for a really tight, dodge on the frame kind of thing. But I think you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think the game is that much about like super tight like dodge windows and stuff. At least like we said with the mobs, you really don't need that. I don't know how it is with the bosses, if you really have to lock in with like you're dodging super precisely, or if it's more about blocking, or what the dynamic is going to be. But my vibe is just that it's not that much about super precision with your response, like inputs and stuff.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I in the overworld, it's not. In the bosses, it for sure is. Yeah, it's definitely there. It just depends on the boss, but yeah, there's definitely some huge differences in the way the overworld feels. More of a split than I think I've ever seen. With Dragon's Dogma, you mention it. Silver's done it. I've done it. You've done it. We've all played the Dragon's Dogma games. I think with Dragon's Dogma, other than like what was he called? The Uber Dragon? What was that guy called?
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember? Was it Uber Dragon?
Oh, yeah, Uber Dragon.
Uber Dragon.
Yeah.
I think with the Uber, I like to call it Dragon, but I think with him, having multiple life bars and stuff, I felt like bosses or whatever they would be in Dark Souls.
Dragon, I think it was.
You're right. It is Dragon. It is Dragon. I think that they felt like a flow. This is not a flow. It's like it really does adjust, when you jump in there. I would have liked it to have flowed a little better, but there's also the other stuff, the reloading, the respawn. There's ways to make it smoother without really adjusting a bunch, which would be maybe a small adjustment to, not a small adjustment, but an adjustment to the attacking you instantly, respawn, and skipping cutscenes. I think, in all honesty, most of us, some people feel the same way about keyboard adjustments. Obviously, we want those all the time. I think when you look at cutscenes prior to a boss, most of us don't. I can't think of any reason other than technical that there would be an unskippable boss.
In general.
Yeah, true. Yeah. What about the one cutscene you watch it? You have to watch it all the way through. Anyway. Silver. Would you say you shouldn't be able to skip the first one, But yeah, you could play it on the Xbox and then jump to PlayStation. But I don't need to play it. So
I rarely skip cutscenes, but it's a criticism I hear very often from people that they want that option, and I don't see any problem with that option.
Yeah, I think it's criminal before a boss. If you're gonna make like challenging bosses where you expect people to die many times, it's criminal. Right? Neo 3 does it really well, where they show the cutscene the first time, and then you're going into the boss every other time.
Yeah.
Directly.
Yeah.
It's great.
I also think...
imagine From Software games if they didn't do that.
That's what I was going to bring up. So I talked about this in the Walking the Walk a little bit, is that... no, sorry. I think I said this in the review, but when it comes to bosses, a Dark Souls will have a corpse run, but it's still engaging your mechanics and your reflex and keeping you alert. And that's okay, even though I don't necessarily love corpse runs or re-boss runs. But when it comes to this game, that's not what's happening. And so it just sort of lulls you into a false sense of like, and then you're back in. It's a little bit tough. Your back hurting? Silver? You still
my
good?
leg.
You still good to go? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Reading here. Shadow Artifacts. I don't think Crimson Desert will do really well in the dude. It's already sold almost 3 million. If you're expecting it to sell another 3 million and another 3 million, I think I would agree. But I don't know, because I think a lot of people are reading.
It's getting a lot of media coverage and a lot of exposure.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I think a lot of people, even the people who are purposely trying to hate or purposely trying to love, you have people faking that it's the greatest, faking that it's the worst. I think overall, there's a lot of people who really want it to be good. and they'll be the later buyers, and then you have the people who maybe are like, I know it sucks, and then on the first sale it might do well, so you never quite know exactly, how all this is going to sort of pan out in the long run. But I mean, they already sold a bunch.
I'm in the group who's definitely going to buy it on a sale if I am going to buy it, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like that. I think it fits in the same section as a Dark Souls, even an open world third-person game. There's always a certain group of people who are like, maybe they like the genre, but that particular game doesn't appeal to them, and maybe they'll get it on a sale. I'm the same way with first-person shooters, and I love those. There's just some that just don't appeal to you, So, but yeah, they did stunningly well already with sales, and they did stunningly well despite reviews or that score being lower. That the whole stock economy thing is bullshit. I just hate that. Let's see what else about Crimson Desert. Monster variety is general. Bosses aren't general, but I'm saying monster variety. What you would consider to be enemy aggressive people who attack you. It's generally human or human-like. Other than them bears. First time you start taking on a bear, you're like, I got this. I got this polar armor. I got this sword, and I'm good at it. And that bear's like, dude, I'm a bear. I'm a bear. And the quick time events for getting out of a bear's jaws are pretty quick. They're pretty tight. And so there's been a
traumatized from Avowed.
Avowed. Yeah, dude. There's and the thing is so that's a good point, Silver. So there's bears everywhere in Avowed. Man, Avowed was like the bears. You should have been a bear man, because there were so many bears. Somebody probably humped a bear. There's that many. In this game, there's not. But when you see one, at least today, I guess I would say, but today prior, when I was fighting a bear. Wow, dude. If you didn't hit that jump out, I'm out button out of its jaws. Oh, man, that thing it would grab a hold of you and shake you and throw you 10, 20, 30 feet. It was rough, man. It was rough. They killed me. Gentle Stone says, I'm finally buying Starfield because I feel like it's been updated. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy that Starfield's number 3 on the PlayStation Store, I think, or number 3 most PlayStation pre-order. I can't remember, but looks like it's doing well. A lot of people who disliked Starfield in real life, and then there was a lot of console warring where people probably would have liked Starfield if it was on their system. Let's be honest, we're all going to say we're not that person. I get it. You guys are here, so maybe you're not, because I hate that, but maybe you are. I don't care. It's cool to see it do well. I think it's still a game, and nobody goes out to make a shit game, and a lot of people really like it. A lot of people like some of it, so happy it's doing well. Happy to see them still supporting it, too. Because you'll have people say, I don't like this game, I hope this company dies, or I don't like this game, I hope nobody supports it. And you're like, dude, damn. That's like 7-year-olds before they get their full emotional resonance, man. That is some jackass thoughterry. And yeah, I made that word up, thoughterry. Now I'm getting PTSD from all those bears in the hinterlands. Oof, that's a rough one.
So, do enemies respawn if you kill like a group of bandits?
Unless they've taken over an area, you'll definitely. It takes a while, but there's definitely been spots where I'm like, I don't think. Okay, so the time in this game, the time in this game is a little weird because some stuff doesn't take time and some does, and so it can be a little hard to judge like how much time has passed. There's been many a time where I've traveled for hours and not seen more bandits. But it does feel like if you go into different regions and then out of the region and then wait for a bit and go back in, they come in. But I've been playing 6 or 7 hours without seeing them. And then maybe because of loading, and I don't know if I watched the timer on that, Silver, sorry, but maybe they pop up a little faster. Right. But I will tell you this.
It seems inconsistent.
Yeah, and this is going to sound really weird, but bear with me. I sort of am okay with the inconsistency because then I can't guarantee that I can grind those guys or that I will always face them. Because there were definitely times where I was like, I haven't seen a guy here in a while, and I cleaned this out a long time ago. And then other times where I'm like, okay, they got some bandits here. So yeah, I don't know the stats on that in particular. But as much as I traveled around, and I was like, man, I covered that world. I didn't feel like it was egregious or that it was too lean. That felt pretty right. Let's talk about the climbing though, real quick. Dude, let's talk about something smart. I talked about this in the Walking the Walk. I love that they did this. So you have a stamina bar, and they know whatever skills you have, they know, that you're not going to really have a soft stamina, meaning you won't have 21 and I won't have 21.5. Like they sort of know the blocks of stamina, and they made the climbing to fit that. So if it's so good, man, you basically can sort of look and go, okay, I can get to this ridge if I'm this level, and I can get to this ridge if I'm this level. But because of the way the stamina works and double jump being a thing and all this stuff, it doesn't, you look at a mountain and don't go, that's stamina level 1, that's 2, that's 3. It's not like that. It's very hard to describe until you see it, but it's done in a way to where climbing is fucking legit in this game. They handled it really well. Like there are times where I'll be like, I can make it. And then you get there and you're like, oh, damn, I think if I try this one thing, I'm going to fall. And then you're looking down to be like, okay, is there a ledge or whatever? It just feels good. Also, they do a fairly good job, better than most, at making sure your hands generally go to spots that look like you can grab. So you can grab onto anything, but when you start climbing, there's just the textures and stuff are done gritty enough to make you feel like there is a handhold for this dude in armor. Well,
your gliding isn't stamina based, right?
It is. Yep. Gliding, you can upgrade it, but your gliding does. And boy, I'll tell you what, Silver, that first level of glide eats up stamina like Pac-Man. So you know how some games you can look at the ground when you're gliding and go, I can make it to here. I can make it over the ridge below me to right to the next ridge. This one is like you can make it a quarter of the way to that ridge. The one nice thing about it is if you let off the button for glide, you're high enough that you'll see a little bit of your stamina, so you won't die most of the time if you hit it right before you hit, and you'll sort of put it out like a soft landing.
Break or fall.
Holy shit, it eats through stamina like nobody's business. And then you'll make the mistake, because I love to run and jump, because I'm an idiot. Because I think it'll make me go farther, but not this game. You really, by the time the cloak engages, you're sort of at not a standstill, but you're not really moving a ton. But I run and eat up stamina before I leap. And there were multiple times where I was like, that's not going to work. Like, that's just not going to work. Never stymied me. I sort of liked it.
The reason I ask is just because I remember from your review, I think there was some footage where you were climbing and you ran out of stamina, and then you were gliding back down. So that seemed like a nice safety buffer.
As long as you take your finger off, your stamina comes up pretty quick. And then you can also, there's drinks and food that'll give you bonuses. The other cool thing I like is everything in the game, everything is usable. There really isn't a trash in this. So when you grab a spider, like the first time I grabbed a spider, I'm like, why am I collecting Black Widows? But you get things for eating them. Different ones will give you different everything in the game. And I saw Reg and a couple other people selling the shit out of all their items. And I was like, dude, why don't you just munch down on all those spider? They give you a copper. Why don't you just eat all those just in case, or, for the hell of it? And they're like, wait, what? And then if you look up there, it's like +1 to attack or +1 to this. So everything in the game. Yeah, because trash collection is bothersome, and I trash collect. Starfield is a good example. There's not a outpost in Starfield I haven't zeroed out. I mean, nothing in a Starfield outpost is not on my character when I leave, and I will walk 1 mile an hour
looted
for 4 hours to return. Yes, I'm like every binder. I know it's stupid. It's just the way I am. In this one, you feel like it's useful. You can sell it. Some places they won't always buy it. It depends on who you're. And the other thing about the thing,
so you're fighting a boss, and you're chugging,
eating spiders.
Your spiders, or whatever.
Another thing, Silver, is you can shop off of the counters, which is really nice. So you go outside of a building, and you don't even have to go in. You can go.
You mentioned that,
yeah, dude. And we've seen it before. I'm not, like I said in the Walking the Walk, I think most of this stuff has been piecemeal in other games. It's not saying it's magical, because there's always going to be somebody who's like, we've seen that. We saw that in Pac-Man. We ate stuff in Pac-Man. It's not special.
Breath of the Wild does that as well.
Breath of the Wild. Dude, there's a couple shops that I loved their stuff. I liked the character look or whatever, so I would go in. But a lot of the shops in the bazaars, the sort of the Sunday street fair, had a ton of shit. And here's one of the things why I like this, guys. It shows you the physical model so that you know what it will look like at your home. And I don't think nobody else is going to care but me, because I'm a nerd like that. But to me, it was so appreciated to walk up and go, it's not a 2D JPEG. That will look like that on my shelf.
Yeah.
Because how many times have you bought something that the fucking JPEG looks cool and you buy it and you're like, well, that's a rock, man. It doesn't glow or whatever. Like, how many times a JPEG will have a glow around it? You'll buy that jewel, you'll put it on, and it'll be like, thunk, and it looks like you bought a piece of glass. And you're like, oh, come on, fuck you. In this game, you can see all those, and you'll go up. There's a trading system in the game. You not only trade items, but you can collect items into boxes of larger items and sell them. So you can get swords, put them into a box to get more swords, and sort of sell and black market in larger supplies. And they'll even have those. So not only can you buy one sword, but there'll be places where there'll be like box of swords, box of this, box of that. And you can grab it. And that sense of immersion, and also helping you get through something that would probably feel crappy if, because there's so much in this game that is minutia, adding those little conveniences is awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, it feels good.
With that said, though, the inventory management, did that go well overall, or were you
the management is
annoyed by it?
The management of the major box is fine. The group shit where you like so what they did was they take one item as a representation of all the items sometimes on some items. So like you'll open up a bounty and then it'll maybe show you other bounties, but then there'll be the other list of bounties down here, and it can be confusing where you're like, should I go over here to look at this? And what have I seen? Because it'll say you haven't seen something. You click on it, and what it really means is you haven't highlighted it, but you read it when you first got it. And you'll be like, okay, so I've read this already, but it's saying I haven't looked over it with my cursor. So that's messy. The inventory space I have an issue with, but I will tell you guys, it was handled pretty differently during the first like week of the coverage. It was really tight on inventory, and there was a lot of complaints. There were people going like, dude, this is not going to fly. It was tight. And now you can buy them at store shelves. You can buy, what are they, one-off bags, Johnny? I think there's one-off bags that you can. I know there's one-off. Yeah. I don't know if there's 5 or 10. I think there's one-off
the small bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I love the idea, thematically, you carry the burden for the first town's inhabitants, you get more inventory. I love that because they even hint at it. They're like helping people out to like lift their spirits and help them will lift your own. And you find out that most of those quest rewards are extra inventory. Now, admittedly, it doesn't make any sense in like a legitimate term, but either the dragons, like who gives a shit?
Sure.
It was
the symbolism.
Lied to me a little to tell a lot. Yeah, it was awesome. I was just like, okay, I can buy into this, that Cliff is like trying to bear the burden for these people and, going out there. But I will say the one thing that I agree big time with Silver, I won't say it fully doesn't have an identity when you're done, but Cliff that name is so fitting. I didn't mind the accent at all. In fact, I liked it. But Cliff just is a proxy for the player, maybe a bit too much. It's like, I don't know, Johnny, do you agree with that? I feel like when you're Cliff, you're like, Cliff McDuff is perfect because this guy's just Gennaro.
Gennaro.
And at times he's not, but he is. I mean, and you fight that throughout. Have you noticed that already? Or did you feel...
No, I would say I haven't seen enough. I don't know how much of him he puts in the dialogue, like how much
rub off.
Like is he pretty neutral? Yeah, is he pretty neutral with everything, or is he kind of siding with people in a big way and maybe having like a big personality, arguing with people, having a strong stance?
Yeah, John Desert is what somebody called it. Yeah. Damn, that's a good one. Hey, man, you made me laugh. That's funny because that is a little bit about what it is. That's sort of awesome. I'm glad they responded. Yeah, they responded a bunch. I wonder if Crimson Desert will go through a lot of changes like Cyberpunk. Well, Cyberpunk had definitive lies about it that had to be repaired. I don't think this will have those, but yes, I would say you will see some, maybe not substantive, but the cutscene is pretty impactful.
Quality of life.
Sure. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I think the X button for picking shit up and jumping.
Dude, yeah.
I don't know how you fix that other than maybe making sure everything's super responsive for show. I don't know, but it ain't great.
I'm a big proponent of like a dedicated jump button.
Me too.
Because if I want to jump, I don't want to ever do anything else, and the other way around. If I never want to jump instead of doing something else. And so many games have this where you look like a complete fool because you're jumping instead of, doing the thing.
Are you going to continue, or are you trying to? Don't worry about it. It'll fix itself.
I got distracted.
Dude, you can't. It'll fix itself. Anyway, continue.
We're good. No, that's it. I dislike the contextual stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there's ways around it,
Anybody have any questions before we move on from CD or Crimson Desert?
So
music
the last
is
thing,
fantastic. Sorry. Okay, continue.
Really? No, but that interests me.
I love it.
Okay.
But what were you going to say?
So like in just fitting the vibe really well, or something you would listen to outside of the game?
Dude, I would listen to it outside the game, and they have a rising edge. I guess you'd call it a track. You'll notice it when you first fight, which you've seen in the trailers, but there's a guy in the city that sort of you have a confrontation with, and it's got this like this vibe that just goes like, and it's got this warble to it, and it's a little bit like the Reaper horn, not that overt, but I'm just saying it's got that weird like, oh, and it rises up. And I kept saying it while Reg was, I'm glad he didn't say, would you shut up? But every time because Reg fought that guy like 3 or 4 times to try to beat him. And I was just like, dude, I dig it. It made me go like, oh my God. Like I couldn't tell if he was going to do something at the end of the rise, or if it just was like, this is a part of the track. I just thought overall the music, and I was singing it while while playing it for review. I was singing it. One of the guys was like, what are you singing or humming? Because there's some store and menu tunes that are pretty earwormy. And then the guys in chat yesterday got in. They're like, that's what you were. They're like, now I know what it was that you were humming all the time. And it is earworm. There's a lot of earworm stuff, little motifs that play out.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a great deal. But you were going to say something else before I mentioned that. I hope I didn't make you forget.
I'm still curious about the puzzles because, like, so you mentioned a lot of them were really tough, or like you had to lock in, think about like different perspectives and stuff. Was it fun? Because I've had this thing where you can either feel really rewarded by a tough puzzle right at the end, where you feel smart and like, okay, I really kind of found a new perspective I was missing or something, or you can feel really dumb, like you were missing something obvious. And actually, maybe it was even the game. Like the game maybe didn't do a good job explaining that, like, you should be thinking about this, or you should be doing this in these positions. And sometimes that can feel really cheap, right? Because like, oh, I just was missing this like detail. I just didn't know I could do this here.
Yeah.
So, and maybe it's a spectrum where some are to one side or the other.
That's exactly what it is. I definitely tried something and it didn't work, and did the revolving series of experiments and tests and tried it again, and it worked, and I couldn't tell you why. And the mystery and the bugs that I experienced were this is one of the reasons why I was like, this is not ready for prime time in the fact of somebody going in and having a generally seamless experience. This is not it. And they've fixed a bunch already with one patch. Unfortunately, I was telling somebody in the chat, they were like, hey, I think they fixed this issue. And I saw those patches. They fixed a lot of the issues, but none of the ones I have so far. Or ones that would have dropped it to wait for a sale. Yeah, dude, there's puzzles that are like experimentation machines, which I don't like. I don't think that's a puzzle as much as a waste of time machine, where you're like, there's not a lot of logic. And then there's a
trial and error.
Yeah, and I'm sure it makes logical sense to somebody else, but we know murderers out there who think it's logical. You know, that's a little bit of hyperbole, but you get my drift. So, yeah, there was definitely some times where I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck is happening. There were other times where you question if you have an ability, and I would dive into the stats menu for like a half an hour, looking at every stat going, if I, or the skills, if I buy this skill, would that allow, am I missing that? And it's telling me I'm here because it's free, and, you know, free is hard to QA. So maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Maybe I'm too early. The sense of reward is high. it is not commensurate with some of the puzzles completions. I will say that. There were times where I was like, that ain't it. And then there were other times where I was like, okay, that felt pretty good. But what I started doing was mentally imaging the entire level. So if you understand game design, by the way, I'm not saying you have to do this, and I'm not saying, I'm just explaining something. Most game design will funnel you visually. So if if you walk into a level, it'll be sort of like this, and you know that's where you need to go. There's a couple puzzles that everything in the puzzle makes you think it's there. That like the motif, the theme of what you need or whatever is here, and it's fucking over here. And that was because, like,
you've been conditioned otherwise.
Yeah, you've been conditioned, and sometimes you're just like you're banging your head against a wall, going like, "What the shit is going on?" Like, I don't like. Am I just doing this wrong? But I will say, I think I beat a couple puzzles in the non-traditional way. In fact, I know I saw somebody who was in a chat talking about they completed a puzzle by skipping a part that either was a bug or they brute forced something. Yeah. I was like, that's cool. If you can do that, I don't have an issue with it. I want to make sure the first part is doable. But if this person figured out a way to use skills and luck and a little jank, then I always all the power to them. Like,
I always remember in. Sorry, go on, Silver.
Go
Silver.
First. What were you gonna say?
It should be giving you flashbacks to the good old adventure games, point and click days.
Point and click, or Bard's Tale from
the stuff you need to throw into the pot to get to Monkey Island.
Yeah, Monkey Island. Yeah, where you're just like, what? Yeah, for sure. What were you gonna say, Johnny?
Yeah, those are good ones. I was thinking of Divinity Original Sin 2, where you had the teleportation and a lot of puzzles.
Involved that.
Where you had to like navigate, right? Or, you needed to unlock a door here, find a key, blah, blah. But sometimes you could get around it by like teleporting yourself into a place that otherwise you couldn't get to. And like sometimes you could jump ahead in some cool ways with that and other spells as well.
You could skip puzzles in Breath of the Wild as well, in some cases, with alternative solutions.
When somebody says Bard's Tale, I brought up Bard's Tale a second ago. I don't mean Thief of Fate or any of those. I think it was Bard's Tale 4 by the Clockwork Revolution guys.
In Exile.
Bro.
In Exile.
Like, I'm not saying there was a couple puzzles there where I was DMing the developer going, this is obviously broken. Nothing makes... And when I completed it by, I guess you would say, brute force. And I still, one or two of the puzzles, have no clue how I completed it. I've never looked up to find if somebody has a logic or a theme for it. And that's okay, because if I don't have the experience in my brain to do it, that's fine. And if it was a little janky, that's also fine. If you have a ton of puzzles in, it happens. But Bard's, there's one puzzle in there that gave me, like, if I had a confidence issue, it would have come up during that. Because I was like, I am too stupid to figure this out. Like, it's beyond, it's like Stephen Hawking's level of puzzle. I just don't get it. And it was in a game that I don't know if that was their plan, per se, if that was their exact idea. Somebody asked a question. Spooner says, my biggest question for Carrick is, does the exploration continue to feel rewarding 80 hours? Yes. Yeah. I would say, and I said this in the review, that just does not go away after it. Dude, there's so many things in this that might be a point of interest for somebody that isn't somebody else. But for me, if I see some bandits around a wagon, I want to see what they're doing. If you remove that lowest level, there's still so many tangentials in that game world that it just never went away. Yeah, it's still not away. Literally was playing it this morning. So, like, it still hasn't gone away. It's
still there.
That's one of the best parts about the game. Yeah, it's just some of the other stuff isn't the greatest. Is that it for Crimson Desert, I think? Anything, Johnny? You haven't faced a boss, so I guess that'll be the big one for next week.
Yep, we'll circle back to it once I and other people in chat and stuff have played more. We'll have some more sampling.
Everybody in here has been really good, but I do want to point out one last time that if you like it, awesome. If you don't like it, awesome. But don't make shit up. Man, God damn, that makes me mad. And nobody has. So, there's desert. There's desert, snow, swamp. There's desert, snow, swamp, normal, ruins, dungeons, caves, mountains, tons of mountains, mountains on mountains on mountains. The verticality in the game is definitely the highest I've seen in a game.
How's the fauna? Are you getting
I think it's really
molested by animals all the time?
Oh, you mean like
no, Far Cry?
Oh no. So they have a system in the game. I talked about this in the Walking the Walk, but I don't think it's incredibly attacky. They do have a system in the game called the anti-rat. And what it's supposed to do is basically stop you from, when you're fighting, finding a position to just, let's say, arrow people. But they also indicate that it might also do that in the wilderness. And that would piss me off because Far Cry likes that. Far Cry will send one of those squirty-ass piece of shit little, what are they called? The little Wolverines. Oh, man. There's another name for them. Honey Badger.
Oh, the Honey Badger.
Yeah. This game supposedly has that, but I fished for a long time, and I explored for hours, and I stood so one time I left it running for 12 hours. I played for 20 or 30, almost 30 plus one time. It's ridiculous. I think I took a nap in the middle, but not very long.
Dude.
I took footage for a time lapse, and I never got attacked on any of those three. Ever. They were the save. Like the one time I went to bed and left it up to do a revolving sort of time lapse to watch the weather and to see what happened. There was no attacks. So I think it's either means more in the combat area, or maybe it means in banditry areas, where there's a heavy. But no, you get attacked by wolves, you get attacked by some other things when you go into later areas, you get attacked by bears, that kind of stuff. But no, it is way more you're a apex predator for the most part, unless you meet the apex predator, cool. Which is that fucking bear.
That fits with the power fantasy, right? Because if you were this, godlike warrior, you just kill everybody easily in combat, and then suddenly the animals are a huge problem for you.
I want to answer a question. Lombardo said, nice. It seems I've seen footage of every biome besides the desert. In trailers, you saw a bunch. I think I might have accidentally put some of my own footage in. I'm pretty sure mine was trailer footage, but for the desert. But so there was rules in most embargoes that'll be like, don't show after this point or this point. And there was a little bit of confusion about one that was saying, don't show after this point because of story and stuff like that. And I think some people just hedged on the idea of that part of the story unlocks in that exact moment. So therefore, we're not supposed to show that area. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know if everybody thought that's true. But, it's there. Yeah, it's there. The other cool thing there is an electric city with a train and hot air balloons. The mix of the steampunk magic is fucking. It reminds me of Final Fantasy, and I'm not a Final Fantasy fan, but something about this one attracted me. Walking down into this area with lit lights and the train going by, and because of the way they do their lighting system, they can have 1,000 actual pinpoints of light versus most games that are going to crash it. Once you get to 64 and above, you start seeing FPS issues. So you will see 1,000 pinpoints of light when you're on a hill, and you'll walk into this valley and you just be like, what the fuck? This is the most beautiful, it's got that fantasy vibe, which is what I want. Dragon's Dogma doesn't, and I love it. This game is like Dragon's Dogma, but let's say magic is increased by 1,000,000,000%. And so is the desire to say, look at this fucking awesome place. And that means when you see a not awesome place, it works so well because there's this massive gap. So you go into it, for example, you go into this peddler place where everybody's poor, and you can get points for giving money to the poor. And by doing quests, you get a contribution. You can buy horse armor. You can buy all this stuff for helping out the region. And there's a ton of regions in this game. There's a ton of factions, but you can get points for the region. And what I like about it is the dichotomy, man, because you go down into this place, and it was on the side of a city, and I went down, and I'm like, why is there shit everywhere? And not shit, but debris. It just looked nasty. And I come around the corner, and I hear wailing, and people being like, oh, and I'm like, oh, this might be a beggar area. And they come up and they grab your feet and they like yank on your feet to give them cash. And I was just like, and by the way, I gave all my money away, which to me indicates I bought in, because I'm not, you're just getting contribution points and there's other ways to do it. But for some reason, I just went to every single guy in that area and gave them money because I was like, because they did a good job. I mean, there were people on the ground like rubbing their feet together in misery. And there were like people that were like, we've got nothing to eat. And then there were other people who were like dragging on your feet as you try to go by. And they'll, oh, by the way, they will crowd you. They will literally like, you know, have you guys seen like the Middle East or something where you'll get a person, you'll see, and like the kids come up and start like getting right on them? That's what happens. I think it happens to Indiana Jones, doesn't? Some or no,
yes.
It's when they're trying to save Indy and all the kids come up to Indy. That's what it reminded me of. Also, I got to point out, the game has no issue attacking you from every side all at the same time. I do like that. No waiting around. Those guys are like, you got 4 corners of the compass. We're going to attack you from all 4 right now.
There's
like,
also the scene with Marcus Brody in Last Crusade.
I think that's the one I'm thinking. When
by himself.
and Indiana gets saved, right?
Kind of lost
by the kids.
No, that's where Brody is lost and is with Sala.
Oh, Brody, I'm sorry.
He's kidnapped by the Nazis. Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Like he's in a throng of people.
Yeah.
Saying, was someone offering him water, and he says, water, no thank you. Fish have sex in it, or what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Brody a lot. Does the combat work well when fighting multiple enemies? Yeah, there's some dodge iframes. There's some ability to get away from people. There's power moves. It's not like I used lock on when I had distance and no lock on when I didn't. And I just sort of swang for the fences to try to like get away and out of the group. But I will tell you this, if you don't get out of the group, they're going to, baller the shit out of you. The other cool thing is the game's knowledge system makes you basically want to fight people to learn moves. So like one of the guys you fight, you learn a power kick from him. And then you start realizing, oh, some of these guys are going to pull off a move I want to learn. So sort of fighting people becomes an actual way in which you can get a couple of the skills in the game, which I still think is probably one of the best parts of the game. I love the idea of watching somebody. Yeah, you only watch them once. That's like watching a VCR of a black belt and suddenly knowing it. But whatever. It's still, it's a step.
Yeah, you're uploading it into the brain like in the Matrix.
Yeah, like the Matrix. It really is like that. You'll literally see a bar going knowledge. And I'm like, listen, people could be like, well, it's just a bar. Absolutely true. But like I said, I only need to be lied to a little bit for me to be like, it's nice to have those.
To sell the illusion, Yep,
sell the illusion. So let's move on. We talked a little bit about Starfield. Starfield's got its DLC, which is going to suck for me because I don't know about you guys. I got a modded out Starfield, and a lot of those, unfortunately, change the thing that the DLC is going to fix. That sucks. So I'm going to have to probably, I guess, start over, maybe. But they've got the Star Lanes and then another DLC coming. Sounds like they've got a couple more. So I'm excited. I'm going to jump back into Starfield for sure. I don't know if you guys were big Starfield fans. I don't remember. Johnny?
I liked it enough, probably not to like jump back into it. So it was like a bit of a mixed bag, but I like the aesthetics a lot about it. That was like my favorite thing. Yeah.
What about you, Silver? Because I think you didn't even play Starfield, right? You didn't get it.
No, I did. I did play it.
I'm sorry,
but I didn't get that far into it. I think maybe 30 hours or something before I kind of bounced off it.
Hey, 30 hours is better than like 3 minutes. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it was a great use of time, but still, at least you got 30 hours out of it. I've got a lot less from some games. So
I mean, I've gone back to it like every once in a while since then, but never for like long spells.
Just sort of jumping in.
Yeah.
I'm curious about how the new Super Cruise system works. Yeah, they showed some really cool stuff with Super Cruise. They stated there was a new material you can get in events from that, so we'll have to see how that goes. I will say they made it sort of overpowered. Like, people seem to have been complaining about some stuff, and they were like, now you can do a legendary weapon. And you're like, all right, whatever. It seems like there was a lot of the thing I liked, which was sort of trying to figure out what was good versus just having good. We'll have to see how that plays out, but I'm excited to see that, and that they're continually working on. There's a new companion as well, and
cool.
So that's awesome. So let's move from Starfield to DLSS 5. So, did you both see the trailers?
What a response.
I have not.
Okay. So, what a response is the correct term. That was all over the place. And I think it's one of the first times I can say I understand where everybody was coming from. Like, I understand people who saw like Oblivion and were like, holy shit. That, like, I love that. It looks like a mod, you would say, I guess. Some people didn't. I didn't have much of an issue with the Oblivion footage. I was, especially the faces, I was like, oh, that's cool. Starfield did look better. Admittedly, that's because Starfield's faces were really bad. Like, just, they were really bad. So, like, an improvement is an improvement. But with DLSS, so that people don't know, DLSS 5 is basically using an AI that takes a 2D basically image, takes some motion vectors and upscales it, but then upscales the design and ideas of what that face would look like, but then uses generative AI to sort of beautify it. Would that be would beautify it? So the Instagram filter was like the first thing that came up, right? Like, oh my God, this looks like Instagram, which I get. I do get. Like, I do understand that. I also, though, feel like every time DLSS is shown, what they show is about twice as much as what we get. So I think I looked at it as a more grounded, like, okay, they've shown 600 FPS, we got 300, or maybe 100. They show this Instagram filter. I get it, but I don't think developers are going to want that at all. I think developers would love to have the ability to, let's say, be closer to concept art, but not their art, and sort of be able to improve stuff. But it was definitely a ballsy idea to be like, we're completely changing the look. And what I've noticed is there was like a ton of discussion right when it posted. Then there was like a back and forth of like artistic intent, concept art intent, which is always going to be a thing because concept artists and true game, what is made in the game, has already been contentious prior to AI, where concept artists are like, well, that doesn't look like my concept. Well, it's because you have a polygon budget and maybe the designers decided against something else. I gotta see, like, I saw an interview last night with a tech YouTuber who talked to NVIDIA and was like, how much control will people have? The major control that they have is intensity. So let's say you go from 0, no change, to 10, Instagram filter, right? Some people are going to want Instagram filter, and I have no hatred for that person. I wouldn't want that. But I would definitely, if you could like clean up the faces in Starfield. I need to see it. But I do understand that like everybody looked at that and were like, dude, this ain't it. But it is it. That's the problem. It is it. Like it's not like it's magically going to go away. What we need to do is figure out a way. Developers cannot turn it on or turn it on. It's a separate thing. I think most developers would probably have it off. I think that's my guess, is that most developers, but I don't know, like in 5 years or let's say 3 years when this gets into games, because it's going to take a while, right? The beta is at the end of this year. I don't know, Johnny, like, what did you think? Because like some of it, I liked the idea and then the idea, but not the, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I had a really conflicting reaction to that because on one end, I thought, to give an example, that shot of Grace from Resident Evil Requiem they had, with the beautified face, it looked way more realistic on one, like the skin didn't look as flat and as video gamey. So I thought on one hand, damn, that looks way more realistic. But then I do see what people are saying with like, well, it almost looks like she has makeup now, and like maybe her emotion displayed is different too. So like she's supposed to be in distress, right? And everything. And she looks like ready for Instagram. So yeah, I totally get that. And yet I can see how it's still compelling, even to me. Like I said, like at first it was compelling. So I think there's going to be an element of the revealed preferences of people might turn out to still be closer to the Instagram filter compared to the no filter, despite the outrage right now. So I think there's like an opposite knee-jerk reaction where people are saying, no, I don't want that. But then like in their own private time, they're scrolling Instagram, they're happy with the Instagram filters in their own private time. So I think there's this conflict of like what people are saying now they don't want ever, it's horrible, to what like people are actually gonna choose to use and be happy with at the end of the day. And that's kind of my intuition, that people will end up gravitating towards having that on. I could be wrong though. I just think that's kind of human nature, and that there's a reason why the Instagram filters are used, or like why people use those, right? Is because they do work to like get more engagement and stuff.
Yeah. More like focus on that. What about you? Silver, you hadn't seen it. Did you look it up?
I'm watching it right now. Yeah.
You want me to give you a second and I can keep talking and then we'll go back to you?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I think one thing, like just real quick on the environments, because one thing that I was talking to Reg about this, and he told me like it's like removing the sort of magic feel. So Hogwarts, they had this kind of thing in the air, right? It was maybe some mist or something in the air that looked kind of magical, kind of whimsical, and you kind of see some of that removed or dialed down, or maybe looking more grounded and bringing everything to like ground floor kind of thing. Is that something, like, do you agree with that? Or did you view it as just maybe a positive overall, like how the environments looked?
To me, it reminded me of an artificial EMB. And you look at the popularity of EMBs and you're like, okay. And some people like blown out EMBs that I'm like, what? For people who don't know, EMB is like a mod that adjusts all your tone mapping and your lighting for games. People, there's all kinds you can get. And I've seen people playing games and I'm like, damn. But I have found that a lot of games, the saturation is too high, that the colorfulness becomes way gamified, and actually toning it down. So like if your saturation is 100, let's say 50, 1 to 100, where I actually find myself usually going to like 45. Because there's a little, especially when you get OLEDs, people say you can see poppy colors, which is true. And on a movie, I love that. But on a game, sometimes it can give a gamified look to everything. I just don't flatly believe that it's going to even look like that in real time. So people were going, oh, it needs another 4080. Well, if you go, or 5080, if you go and look, most of their, any of their tests are always using double cards at first. And then they go to single cards in the lab, which they already have a single card running it in the lab. We don't know the performance of it. If there's an intensity meter, I think the developer can maybe lock that. That would be, so the developer will lock it. But I think people will hack it within a day. They just will, and they'll play, and they'll try old games. Tons of people will try old games. It's inevitably up to everybody to sort of like figure out what it is and where they feel like their hard or soft point is. But overall, I feel like it's going there, and I feel like the best response would be to NVIDIA. You need to make sure every control is available to us. So this interview, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. He's a popular YouTuber, does a lot of like breakdowns, some right, some wrong, whatever. But he talked to NVIDIA about it, and there was only like 4 sliders. And I was like, all right, that seems, maybe it's so hard coded that you can only have 4 sliders. And if that's true, we'll deal with it. People deal with it as we move into the future. But I personally think you need to make sure the developer has enough sliders so that they even put it in their game, because they won't they won't unless they just want you to have every option. Like, that's the other thing. People want every option, even if, like, let's say they don't like the faces. Let's say you could turn the faces off and you could just do her jacket and shit. Okay, I'm for that, because there was some really good detail and a very much more realistic look in some places on the overall picture. I know where Reg is coming from, but then talking to some other people and being like, what do you think? They were like, I like that look much better. And I was like, do you use the EMBs a lot? And they were like, yeah, I use EMBs because I'm normally not happy with the color. I have a different TV than you, so my color is different anyway. There's all these different issues. But it is going there. Like, it is. And I think people need to get on top of it with NVIDIA as soon as possible. Because, by the way, if anybody thinks NVIDIA is magically the only company working on that, they are going to be surprised in a couple months because they're not the only ones doing it. There are multiple different companies looking at that kind of thing in games, and it will be in engines, it will be in video card driver, blah, blah, blah. So we need to get on top of it as soon as possible to give the developer every control that any developer should expect. Like the developer should expect to have the control. But it will be modded in. It will be modded in. We all know that. They've modded in ray tracing on cards. They modded in, like, the cat's out of the bag. Now we need to figure out a way to catch the cat and put it in the house and keep the doors locked because it is out. Like, it's regardless if that makes me comfortable or not. What were you thinking, Silver, when you saw it?
I was not impressed, to be honest.
There you go.
Not really. But a number of them actually looked worse to me. Especially like the Starfield one and the
Oh, you
the
didn't
Hogwarts
like
one.
the Starfield. See, I thought the Starfield one looks, but I just don't like the faces
I mean,
in
the
Starfield.
the male one kind of looks a little better, but the female one in particular,
You
I
didn't
found
like the female one.
much
Okay,
worse.
okay, that's fair.
The DLSS 5. But yeah, and there's and a lot, like quite a few of them looked too polished for me. Where they were missing texture, I guess. Which really sort of took away from personality.
Yeah. Also,
which is a large part of character design.
Yeah, true. I do want to point something out that Johnny said. I just want to. So there's realism and then there's expectation. I've heard some people say, "Oh, well, we're changing the emotion of this character because this character's doing this and that, and in an hour they're going to notice this, so they were trying to make that character look solemn." Sorry. That's not how it works. Many times that's not how it works. I'm not saying all games don't do that, but if you're thinking that, like, not you, but if people are thinking that, like, oh, and the reason why this character looks this particular way is because in the future they're going to see this and there's fear on their brow and stuff. It's like humans are really good. That is straight up not how
we're creating this story.
Yeah, you were talking about a level of finesse that is mind blowing, and they barely have the time to make sure the jump button isn't on the same as the pickup button. Come on, guys. Like, there's some realism that has to be added in here because, like, I agree. That's some god tier level,
and sometimes we attribute this magic intent to how things look.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is incidental. Like, it just turns out that that's how the shade looked because they needed to correct some other thing. And now, like, as a secondary effect, there's this mist in the air, or, a lot of it can be incidental. Not everything is completely intentional.
It's very common that we ascribe intent to that sort of.
We ascribe intent. Yeah. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Ranger says, it's amazing how different we all are. Maybe we should all view it like going for a meal. If I had more seasoning than the next guy paid for it, is my meal. I would say I agree, as long as the developers, like, you wouldn't want McDonald's to be forced. Well, I guess you do force them to make your meal your way. But I feel like in general,
no pickles.
No pickles. But if you get pickles, they should. I don't know. I do get it where artists are like, dude, that's not,
my vision is
my vision.
pickle.
But at the same time, if you have the ability to say, I'm turning this up to 3 out of 10, and that is still my vision, but we can't do it with the current technology because of polygon budgets, blah, 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 blah. Then if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. There are also people worried that they think it's going to magically be in everything. And I've seen ray tracing used as an example, but I think we've only had like 4 games in totality. Well, it's probably more than 4 now, but we haven't had many games in totality that have required this particular thing. And ray tracing is usable in your Tetris to your blah, blah, blah. You know, it can be used in anything. In a game with aliens, you can't use this. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Because, like, it's going to take a ton of timing. You will be able to. I'm just saying they have to sample. And like they did Oblivion, those are still general faces. But if you went to the L-Core in Mass Effect and turned it on, that thing's going to be trying to apply makeup, you know, or whatever it's trying to apply. And you're going to have an oddity there. So I don't
see
the
biggest
or whatever.
Or cell shaded. Or cell shaded. Yeah.
That's the biggest limitation with this thing, is that it's going to try to like coalesce into the well-known or like common shapes for everything, right? So like face shapes are going to kind of tend towards their samples, right? So they might change like body structures a little bit as well to fit more the mold, and that inevitably will change, I think, some artistic input.
I think it does also, I mean, much like Instagram filters and whatnot, it does also raise questions about beauty standards and whatever, I think.
Well, I think that's why
the culture, for sure.
Agreed. I think that's why when you get Instagram filters, like Johnny was saying, you also have the people who will show up on purpose looking uglier than they ever would look normally on YouTube to grab views that way. I mean, I have friends who do that, they're legitimately are like, look how, you know, unkempt, I guess you would say, I am. Look how real I am versus others. So you get, and on purpose, you get like all these different things with beauty standards. So yeah, I agree. That is really what it is beauty. Like, and then different nations find different things beautiful, or not nations, sorry, but different regions will find different. So it's like cultures. Thank you. How are you going to, you know, find that? So, but here's the thing, it's out or will be out. Even if they were to say we're going to pull it back, there's still, every company is going to attempt that kind of stuff. That's just one step in the future of trying to add on to what we have. So the best bet would be to make sure the developers have it. I will say also this, artistic intent is vital, but also we shouldn't pretend the artist won't be able to see what that adjustment will be while they're making the game. Meaning, if the artist can do work and then use it and say, this is what I want, then that's what they want. Whatever artist that may be, an indie artist up to a AAA artist, whatever, this is what we want to go with at this particular time. I don't necessarily know if we can have every artist always agree on anything. I saw somebody say they should have a checkoff where every single and I was like, that's never happened prior, let alone with something like this. But they need to make it so that anybody who's creating a model in a game, if I'm a developer, I create a model, I should know what that model will look like without impact, unless it's a mod, because we know how mods go, right? The asses in mods are ridiculous. That'll be a certain type of person who grabs this slider and cranks it up and they want to play it, you know? So yeah, it's not the only thing. I mean, it's definitely, I think it definitely showed that they mistakenly, like they were like, these companies pass it on, these companies have passed on this trailer and said it's okay. And then you had people saying, well, I didn't say it was okay. And you're like, right, but that's not the same. Like, I'm a YouTuber. I don't like what YouTube does, but I still work for them. Like, there's all that, and it's going to continue. This will be one aspect of this mess, and it'll continue for another 10 years, where the group say versus the individual say versus how a company handles it versus how an indie dev handles it. It's all
That's
over
also
the map.
why it's important to have conversations about it, I think.
Yeah. But just not expect that, unless something changes, not expect that checkoffs are going to happen from every single person in the entire company for every single thing. Like, I feel like that's unrealistic. It just doesn't seem, it's never been possible. I don't know why it would now be possible, but who knows?
Also, it's not really helping when you have like people giving death threats to Digital Foundry and stuff because of their initial video. That stuff's crazy. You got to be able to talk about stuff. When you dislike it.
That shit was weird, because I saw another weird thing. It was like, you didn't take into account other people who didn't see the video and what they would think. And I was like, what? When have we ever, what? Like, listen, you may not like that they were excited for a new tech, and probably smarter than many of us in understanding that tech will not directly appear exactly as we saw it or whatever. Yeah, it was that was unfortunate. Death threats. Dude, look at what I got from Crimson Desert, man.
I mean, death threats are generally always unfortunate.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I got somebody telling me the only way, because of my review of Crimson Desert, the only way they would subscribe to me is if I died. And I was like, now, first of all, I thought that was funny as shit. That's pretty witty.
It is, yes.
Yeah, I was like, damn, that's actually pretty witty. When you die, I'll subscribe. But I was like, wow, for a game I liked but had some bugs, like, so you're mad at me enough that you're like, that because you experience bugs, I want you to die, or I'm only going to celebrate you when you're dead. I was like, damn, that was like 1 of 100, and that was over a video game. I think that so this was asked to me, and I do want to say that. So this was asked, if I went, what would I have thought, right? Day 0 or whatever. If I had done a video, if I'd been asked to go check it out, I would have been more realistic in the idea that it ain't going to appear like that, especially when you look at the hardware and stuff like that. It's like, I would have also been, they didn't really bring up that people might be upset about beauty, all that stuff. I probably would have just talked about it because you and I and Silver and Reg, we all talk about this stuff. So it probably would have just popped up. But to be asked to do a video and go and look at stuff, I get really uncomfortable getting mad at somebody's excitement. Somebody's excitement that there's a lynching, you're a fuck. But if somebody gets excitement over a tech, whatever that's coming in the future, I'm not going to hold, like, that doesn't seem to be something that, like, I would be like, oh my God, no. I can't,
And for something that's an option,
and we don't even know what those options will be. I like, it was a weird situation. The death threat thing was like, and I knew it was going to happen. I saw the video, I saw people freaking out, and they were like, I actually love this. I would say in general, most of the people in my Discord, especially in the voice chat, were like, holy shit, Oblivion. I think it was Oblivion in particular. Starfield and Oblivion. I know if Silver was in there, he wouldn't have, but almost everybody in there was like, holy shit. But I think it's because you do play those games a lot, and you're like he's played it 30 hours, which is a lot, but a lot of people are still playing it going, man, I've got 10 mods for faces. If I could just do a slider to slightly improve the face, I would much rather do that. And so they were mostly positive. They were like, oh my God, that is amazing. I can't wait to see what we can do.
Just found it strange just because it is really just faces. There's nothing really in action or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were some adjustments to her clothing that looked good when it comes to detail, but it did change the colors. But see, I don't think that'll be what we get, like, because
I think you're right there. Like, precisely right. Also for that reason that you don't see it like in action, that it is just a tech demo in that way. It's like a vertical slice for a video game or whatever.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah, and dude, I'm telling you, Johnny mentioned a good thing. He was talking about the effects. Now, if you can turn something up and have an effect turned down, I don't really see that as anything other than this is not ready for prime time. Meaning it shouldn't remove mist, right? I love mist. It's like one of my favorite things in games, like the, dying light kind of moment in a day, a sunset or a sunrise, the mist on the ground. If that was to be removed, I don't know if I would trade it for faces, because to me that ambiance is hyper important. But that's another reason why when I saw the trailer, I was like, well, that's not exactly what we're going to get at all, because it's just not like that's actually adjusting. Not only that, it's adjusting like performances that might be better because you're removing effects, which, because alpha transparency and all that stuff is hard. And it would be a weird thing to be like, you can turn up the faces, but you lose the spell effect or whatever, which is another thing. How is this going to handle a magic using character in front of you who casts a spell? Is it going to go beauty, ugly as the particles, go? Do you see what I'm saying? There's so much here that is not at all. That's why they weren't moving around. The only one you saw move around was Oblivion guy who's like, hello. And
we saw the football thing.
The football player, the FIFA.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. They did show that. But he was face on. But you're right.
And that had some artifacts and like some weird stuff with the ball.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
Yeah.
But you had to look at it the way that like these guys do.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I'll have to open the door.
Oh, go for it.
Be right back.
Yeah. But I'm really happy that people were a little bit like more laid back on it after a while. Like if somebody wants that, somebody wants it. It's not that big of a god. I mean, it is a big deal for what we're talking about, but for like them being excited about it, it was just an odd. It was an odd situation. Man, death threats are like, dude, I just can't believe how fast it goes. How fast it goes to 100.
I mean that's the reactionary nature of social media.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And then,
unfortunately,
like when we were in the chat, people were like, "Well, I don't, I like the look of that character way better." And it's like, yeah, because some people do. We all pretend we don't. Some people like. I mean, dude, I've seen people running mods that I'm like, damn. And I'm not talking about one being a person working, one AI. I'm talking about the look and the ultimate result, and they want that, and I'm like, I that's well beyond my measure, but whatever, it's that's their thing. So it really matters what the developers can control and like their ability to go in there and be and adjust that or not adjust it. But again, be prepared, because there ain't no way in hell that's not being modded in. It's just not. It'll be modded in. Like people will figure out a way. Optiscale, what is the one program? There's like DLSS Swapper, Optiscale. Those guys are going to mod that in like a day. It's
there's no question. I mean,
yeah, got to be prepped.
Those kind of mods are very popular in video games for a reason.
I can tell you this though, on a positive note, I cannot fucking wait to try that on old games, like old games. Because I want to see what it does, like Far Cry 1 or Alpha Protocol or KOTOR, to just see what it does to like those, like how does it take such a low level of detail and what does it do for that, especially when it's taking motion vectors and all that kind of stuff, when you're like some of those games were running at really low frame rates, that'll adjust like how is it all going to work out? So from a purely technical level and a curiosity level, I'm going to try it on a game where you're a cat. Like the first thing I'm going to do, or a Lego game. Like, what's it going to do for a Lego game when it sees a face? How, dude, that shit could be haunting. And weirdly enough, that'll be awesome. Like, I would, depending on how much it affects it.
Use it for Katamari Damacy.
Yeah, use it. Yes, true, dude. Yeah. Transformers and shit. And you've got like Tila's from He-Man's face on a Transformer. I can't fucking wait. What would it do for a top-down? Yeah, those, those are going to be awesome. So we'll just have to see how it all comes out, man. I don't know what we'll see in the future other than to say, prep yo asses, because this is 1/10 of what we're going to see from companies for neural improvement for everything in a game. Some will be considered improvements. Do you know why I think I'm sort of accustomed to this, though, Silver? Because we lived through the pixel to polygon days. Right. And I had a lot of friends who I think they still like pixels better, which is, God bless them, I don't. But they like...
Depends on the game for me.
Okay, that's fair. I guess, yeah, there are some that I really do find the childish like look of something in those, like there's something there.
The aesthetic, yeah.
I think... Dude, I think, this isn't fair to say everybody should have to go and experience this, but it's like, I feel like I've experienced this so many times in not identical, but like the changing of the guard and the like, what is an artistic intent versus what you get versus like the entire way a game is presented, polygons and pixels, and watching my friends have to deal with, I hate polygon. And I think they were right when you got from pixels, which were pretty high detailed at the end. You got some really cool looking games.
Yeah, to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, where you're like, and you see this 4 polygon character jiggling around on screen. You're like, that's fucking haunting. I don't care what you say.
Like basically walking squares that kind of look like Legos.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that look like legs and shit. So you probably had like a 4-year maybe before like polygons started to where the representation allowed for a little bit less of that big punch to the face, and I would say I was like that. Like, I don't remember, but I would assume, it's been a while. It's just I feel sort of numb to the constant discussion of a new tech being surprising, because it just always ends up occurring, and this is a bigger one, I think.
It's constant cycles.
But it's constant cycles, yeah. You know me, though. I should also point it out. I don't like ray tracing in every game. So I get it when somebody says they don't. That's why I fully understand when you say, I don't like the Starfield face. Dude, I get a lot of heat for saying I don't like ray tracing in all games. Some games, I think the authored look and the lack of natural light. So there's almost like a discordance that can happen because it's not natural, because it's not ray traced, where you can get a light here that doesn't like always bounce perfectly and meld, that I sort of dig. It's sort of alerting to me where I'm like, oh, what is that? It doesn't reflect perfectly. So for example, Minecraft, a lot of people like the ray trace. You can get like ray tracing mods and stuff. And I get it. And they do, especially with high detail. Some of them look good, but some of them have something. The uniformness, I guess you could say, of it all, like what Johnny was saying earlier. So yeah, I definitely feel like we've had this discussion alone or in the podcast in the last 13 years, like where you're just like, okay, this looks a certain way. And I can tell you this, not all gamers are going to have it. There has not yet been any technology so far where all the games have had it after like transform and lighting from like 20 years ago. AMD's whatever they do will be a totally different situation. So for the most part, it's just not going to be a thing that and by the time it maybe is, it'll be a next generation console or next, if they can get the performance to a certain degree. But
yeah,
dude, every time DLSS, every time FSR has showed us anything, I'm always like, dude, don't expect that day. It's never, ever, 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 ever been close to what they've shown. It's taken like 3 years or 4 years every time. And Johnny, while you were gone, I was saying I don't like because ray tracing is sort of like not an equivalent, but an improvement a lot of people like. And I was saying I don't like some games that have I don't like the ray tracing option in some games because of. Is there a game you've ever played where and if you don't, it's fine. This is just personal, acceptance of something.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a game you've played where you're like, I don't like the ray tracing look as much as the authored by hand look? If not, that's fine. Because it's
a tough one.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty weird in that because it's not every game, but there are a couple where I'm like, it's not for me.
I think also I don't notice the change that much. In a lot of games, like the RTX hasn't been that big of a change. A lot of times I just felt like, I can tell the difference side by side, but I couldn't necessarily tell you, like, does it look way better in practice? Like, for example, Control looked good either way. Like to me, if I'm just playing the game, RTX on or off, I can see the difference, but both look great actually. And like Cyberpunk, there were some places where I did a whole playthrough without RTX because I didn't have a good card initially, and it looked great. And then some other stuff I noticed when I had RTX on that looked better. But then I might say on the opposite side, some stuff looked better without the RTX because maybe like the saturation was different or the coloring was different. So it's hard to say in general, like, does it look better, with or without? I would say like it also depends on places in certain games and stuff like that. I wouldn't say across the board RTX on is always better. No.
Yeah. Well, look at what we've done. Every time there's been an improvement, we've lost performance every single time. Every DLSS has always been like, oh, look, it's going to add frames. But what they don't tell you is, because it's lowering resolution and the old DLSS has sucked balls. It took AI and the neural changes that we've seen in 4.5 and 4 to like actually improve that. They were legitimately, yes, you could get a frame rate improvement. Why? Because you were turning the fucking, you were turning it off. The same things happened with frame gen. People are like, oh, you get a way higher FPS, but you get a worse input latency, especially if you're at a lower FPS than maybe 60. I think the same thing will happen here. I just don't see it running. I just don't see this thing like being turned on and being correct all the way through until it's ready to be correct all the way through. And I think that's going to be a long time. I just don't see a company figuring out a way to have every special effect not do an artifact, all that kind of stuff, and be real comfortable with it until they can really say, okay, this now is like at this level to where you don't see those. And we still see artifacts. I don't mind them. I know a lot of people bitch about the artifacts in DLSSs, especially certain levels of DLSS, or you'll see somebody talk about where like a quarter of a guy's foot will be cut off in a 90 FPS cutscene for one frame. And I'll be like, okay, guys, I mean, I get it if that's your job to slow it down and watch it. And I would do it in a walk maybe, but I would never tell you to not play the game because a guy's foot got covered. I think Spider-Man had that one time where somebody was like, oh my God, there's these moments where his foot's not perfect or whatever. And I'm like, dude, seriously? I mean, if that's the discussion and we sit on a podcast to talk about it, but if I'm playing that game, I probably wouldn't notice it, even though I'm pretty particular and stuff. And if I did, if the overall performance was better, and I just haven't seen most of these, ray tracing in particular, I think we were lied to. Not lied to, but I think ray tracing was one full card generation too early. I mean, I feel like that's not even an argument, but whatever. I'm sure somebody's going to argue with it. I just feel like ray tracing was done way too early, and that we just saw these dumped, like you can turn it on, but you'll get 9 frames per second at 720 or whatever. And you're just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, this needs to cook.
Like just practically.
Yeah.
We weren't using that.
Actually.
Yeah.
We'll have to see, man. But all of these have always resulted in some kind of FPS loss. So I think for the most part, depending on what game I'm playing, I'll probably have most effects off. I think I usually want it. I want up to like 30 I can play. I don't get sick at 30. Some people would be like, oh my God, I got cancer of the eyes at 30, whatever. If it's variable though, you can bet your ass I'm going to turn off anything to get it locked, even if it's locked at 45 with the G-Sync or, whatever. Like that, this shit or micro stutters make me, there's something that micro stutters do with my motion tracking that makes me a little get a little ill.
Yeah.
And I don't mean if it's smooth, even 20 smooth, weirdly enough. So let's say it's 20 smooth. You know what I mean? It's not smooth at 20.
Cinematic.
But if it is level at 20, but if you get like 30, 45, 30, 45, and that thing's doing this, man, I start to feel like everything is not connected and the controller or the keyboard isn't working right. And I'm like, dude, 1 second you can turn, the next second you turn. So all those will have to be adjusted too. Fascinating discussion. Appreciate nobody getting mad at each other in the discussion, which is nice. You guys are good people. So let's see.
Yeah, it's all gonna take a lot of time. That's my big takeaway. Is like people shouldn't be scared that tomorrow this is gonna be on every game. Like it's going to take years, right, for the models to be up to, like you said, to cover everything and actually work for like full games and stuff. And then even then, it's going to be an option in your menu. Just like right now, you have DLSS 4.0, 4.5. These are different options in your menu.
Yeah, for sure. Oregon Fresh says, okay, here, people are talking about AI. Again, appreciate you guys just bantering back and forth and not being dickheads. No reason to. It's not cancer. Let's see. Who doesn't want better performance? Why would I post performance, objective performance? Okay. Nobody said anything really super stop in the world. Art is subjective, even if it's AI generated. Oh yeah, sure. So moving on from there, what do we got for news this week? Anything? I posted some stuff. Can you grab? I posted a couple things.
Helldivers
Go for it.
Announced some stuff. Helldivers 2. They're gonna set up new Illuminate missions with new Illuminate enemies.
New design
from yesterday. Yeah.
Oh damn. Okay, I watched.
Including
play that.
Including like a huge four-legged mech that has an Illuminate overseer and like a shield bubble. Inside its head that looks really cool.
Idiot Doom Spiral sold me on that day before yesterday. I have not watched anything other than trailers, and I played a little bit, and I was like, I don't know if it's been that long or what, but he was playing that, and I was like, God damn, that game looks good, man. There's some jankiness, but I mean, just the color and the lighting and the explosion effects and everything. Just like, God damn, that looks insane. Some of those.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Worst helmet designs in the universe, though. He had some hat that looked like a Commodore, I guess, hat that you would like a Commodore would have, like in the military. I don't know. It was just like, dang. No, by the way, I'm not saying they did a bad job. They made it look like that, but I was like, damn, there's some janky ass shit in there. Yeah, it looked fun, man.
There is, yeah.
And these are all free, right? Everything for the most part.
Yes, those are not like the war bonds. The war bonds are technically free since you can. They require a currency that you can grind for in game, but the grind for those can be a little slow. They've also been releasing a lot of war bonds over the last 4 or 5 months, really close together. So really, hasn't been enough time there to really grind credits. I don't feel like to where people have been able to get all of them without buying consistently. So that has become a bit of an issue, I think, with how they're developing the game at the moment. But yeah, there's like the newest War Bond is getting pretty good reviews. People are really happy with the content they dropped in that one. It looks like. I haven't been able to get it yet. I'm still sort of unlocking content for the previous one. So it'll be a little while before I start dipping into the next War Bond. But awesome. The Illuminate are one of my favorite enemies to fight. So getting more enemies and mission types for those is going to be really fun.
Great. Yeah.
About Life is Strange. I was asked if I'm going to review it next week. I don't think I've got a code, but my Gmail, I don't know about anybody else, my Gmail search sucks balls. I did ask for code. Yeah. I did get a response. You never quite know if you'll get code, even if they say you're on the list. I am on the list to get code. And I may have got it, but can't find it in my Gmail right now. And I'm going to sort of close that browser. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, I cannot wait. Even if I don't get to review it, I'm excited as hell to play that game. So,
dude, you're the Life is Strange guy. You need to get in there, get in those DMs.
Fuck yeah. I did get in the DMs, but dude, I hate, this is going to sound really weird, man. Do you know what is dirty to me? Saying I'm the Life is Strange guy. I want to review your game. Like I will tell them I've reviewed the prior ones and I love working on them. But I do know that happens. I'm the Minecraft guy. My entire channel is this. And there's something very like, what if we want somebody who hasn't played the game? I don't know. I'm making up what they would say. But no, I've never done that. But I am probably the biggest like Life is Strange bearded YouTuber.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll go with that. Dude, I love it, man. I fucking love it. It's like other than Life is Strange 2, which was fucking not great. I cannot wait. And I'm super excited they made a smart deal. I don't know if I told you guys this, but supposedly they talked about it where they made a deal that if we make the one that just came out, Double Exposure, we want to be able to make the ending. So we will do one if you let us do both. And the company said, okay. Cool. To me, smart move. If you're trying, look at Hellboy. Hellboy 2 came out, and everybody's still waiting for Ron Perlman to either die or make Hellboy 3.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that to people, man, especially a game about, like, emotional resonance and all that stuff. Like,
that's not just going to be Ron, though. That's also going to be Guillermo, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying Ron's the one out there doing stunts. I don't know how many stunts he would do now.
Yeah,
but yeah. I just actually saw him do an interview where they asked him, and he said if the right people come back, obviously he meant the director.
Yeah, I think I've seen that interview as well. Yeah,
dude, Ron Perlman might be the hardest interview of all time. Have you guys seen Ron Perlman do an interview?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I think my favorite is his story of how he did Fallout, where he was paid with a sandwich.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about just his notes, because that is awesome. I'm talking about his response style. So Michael Rosenbaum did one with him recently, and there's this YouTuber who put some shorts, and he'll be like, so, Ron, when you started Sons of Anarchy, did you know it would be a big deal? And it cuts to Ron. No. That's it. And then it cuts back to the guy, and he has to ask him another question, and then Ron sort of turns on. And I noticed it's the second part of every question. And I'm wondering if it's a politeness thing where Ron answers once, and then because he's asked a direct question, did you? No, that is the answer, right? No, he doesn't need more. That's the answer. No, maybe you let the interviewer go again. But dude, it's every time. And it makes me tense because I'm like, does Ron not like the guy? But then I checked Michael's, and I love that Ron and Michael are talking. Michael Rose, listen, I love him. I think he's genuinely heartfelt, but he does interrupt like I do. And you do get tired of that. That's why I'm always trying to be like, I'm sorry, I interrupt you, blah, blah. Mike hasn't learned that yet, and he interrupts Ron, and Ron's like, you gonna fucking interrupt me again? And I was like, uh-oh.
Ew.
And then he interrupts him again, and then Ron legit just blurts, don't ever interrupt me again, Michael. And I was like, was that real? And Michael's like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, go ahead. And then Mike is not asking him questions, but Ron's done, and Ron doesn't continue to answer the yes or no questions, which is what I described. So it's this loop of uncomfortable 45-minute. Oh, dude, it's so, and I've watched it twice because I start giggling, and then I start like going, man, is Michael like making Ron? Because Ron's of the age. Ron had a bad starting to acting too. He was like the Quest for Fire Silver, his original, that. His debut. He didn't get along with people. It didn't go well, and so I'm like, maybe he just doesn't have a give a shit in him. But then I've noticed when he talks about stuff, he does, but I can never tell where it's going.
The director for that film was a Frenchman. Have you ever seen The Bear, which is the second movie he made?
No.
Oh, wait, no. I was sorry. I was thinking of the recent show.
Oh, yeah.
Like The Quest for Fire was such a major hit that they basically gave the French guy, I forget his name, but they basically gave him like a limitless, nearly like an incredible budget for a movie. And he went and he shot a movie in Canada that was basically just about a bear, and like didn't give the bear like a voice or anything. It was about a bear cub that basically lost its mother, and a couple of French fur trappers who were hunting it. And then like there are scenes in it that are just absolutely bizarre. Like there at one point, the bear like licks a frog and gets an acid trip, or it has some nightmares about frogs that are basically like an acid trip.
And this was his money. This was because Quest for Fire was so.
Yeah. So they basically gave him a huge amount of money. But I mean, there are scenes in it that are staggering with nature. It features probably the most famous bear actor of all time, Bart the Bear. And
I know
probably
who Bart the Bear is.
Its biggest role, where there's an incredible scene in it where he confronts one of the fur trappers and basically backs him into a corner, and he roars him right in his face, like a full-on bear roar. That's
awesome.
Unbelievable. One of the most incredible scenes in film history. But
next time I cut you off, Carrick, you have to say, "Don't ever interrupt me again."
Dude, you guys got to watch that interview. Speaking of the bear stuff and that, I think I know I've told you this story. So I might have just repeated this both times actually, but Quest for Fire and Chariots of Fire, where we went to the wrong movie. Did I tell you guys that story?
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I told you. So we go to the theater to watch Quest for Fire, and we went to the wrong theater and saw Chariots of Fire. One is about cavemen and fucking and killing, and the other is about Olympians running for hours. And it started, and we spent a good 20 minutes thinking it was going to flash back in time, because we were like, and my mom and dad tell the story that they were in back, we were in front because we were kids. You like to sit, at least back then, you like to sit. And my mom tells the story that at the same time, even though we weren't sitting right next to each other, my brother Jeff and I both went, like, what the fuck are we watching? Because we were all told it was going to be Quest for Fire. Oh, God. And I'm sorry. Chariots of Fire is listen. It's won awards. Some of the best music. I actually love the Quest for Fire. The dun 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 dun. I love that music.
Yep.
But dude, if you're thinking you're going to see cavemen and you have to watch these guys in whitey tighties running around on pavement for hours on end, it's
when do we go from the running to like?
It did make me fall in love with the main actor who I believe played Barnaby in the vampire TV show. He's the like solemn. He's the dad in Vulcan in the 3 Star Trek movies that came out with Chris Pine. He's the father. I believe that's the main actor who's the runner in Chariots of Fire, if I'm remembering correctly. And he's also in a British old vampire TV show. Obviously not Twilight. I can't remember, but I did like him from that. But it was just like, damn, man, when you go in expecting one thing and you suddenly see these guys running around, you're like, what the fuck, man? Scarred me for life. It's like expecting to see FASDT and Fast and the Furious. Okay, I thought that was an acronym. It's like expecting to see Fast and the Furious and you see the movie about F1 racing. Yeah. True that. What else do we got for news to discuss?
Yeah, so you brought up the Space Marine 2 DLC was being refunded to everybody. So this was like a voice pack they released.
Did you see this
and
one
just had
too,
like
Silver?
really bad reception.
So they released a voice pack and some other stuff, and it got such heavy pushback that they refunded the entire. I think they're giving it to everybody. Like they're not pulling it back, but I think they are giving them money.
Yeah, so they're refunding it for people who bought it, and they're making it free from now on. So it's now going to be a completely free pack for everybody, which I think is a good gesture. You know, like, hey, we missed a mark. We just opened this up to everybody. You
like, I don't know enough about it, but I can tell you that people in my Discord, they were very unhappy with it. So whatever, like I think it was Rusted. It might not have been him. It might have been Warpig, but somebody was in there going like, dude, this is not it. Yeah. Vapor Blood, Queen soundtrack instantly started playing in my head when you said that. When I was a kid, I tried watching my mom's copy of Flash Gordon on VHS. It turns out it was Flesh Gordon. Yeah, I can see that happening. Flash Gordon was pretty sexual in its own right, let alone, Flash Gordon had some like, not Barbarella level, but it had some.
I mean, Brian Blessed's costume alone.
Brian, oh my God, dude. There are some things you don't want to see a bear of a man in golden whitey tighties running around with a sword, screaming. Dude, that was a weird.
Yeah.
I love it. I grew up on it, but there's a lot of sexualness. There's a lot of just oddity in that entire thing. It's a very weird show, very weird movie. Oh, what else we got?
Alive?
Yeah. Dive. I love him in that movie. God damn, that movie is so good. Timothy Dalton, all those guys, man.
The Queen soundtrack.
Yeah, the Queen soundtrack was awesome. Queen and who did Legend? Tangerine Dream, I think did that one. A lot of those old, like the older, I don't know what you described their music style as, but they in fantasy movies in particular, they were pretty popular for a while. What else we got, Johnny?
Arc Raiders replaced their voices with like real actors.
Oh,
so
right.
That was the thing that happened. You remember all the
yeah.
controversy around them having AI voices and stuff. So I haven't heard any feedback. I don't know if this is already out and if people like
it's out. It's out. They were the vocal tracks or whatever replaced it. So and I'll
be curious to hear if people like them more.
Yeah. It was funny because I forgot that that had happened because a bunch of people in the chat were like, couldn't you have spent that on good shit? But whatever. It was not impressive, I guess, but it is what it is. It knee jerk kind of thing. I mean, they got the money, so hey, they paid some people. So it is what it is. What else we got?
The other thing is that there was some news with the Subnautica 2 situation.
Dude, that Subnautica 2 is a disaster. Yeah, but I don't even it involves like, is it ready? Didn't they give the guy who ran it, they rehired him because they had fired him or something?
Yeah.
Dude, like,
Yeah, so I mean, this got litigious, right? So they were having like a court case with it and stuff. So they got the guy who was called Ted Gill. He is called Ted Gill, still alive.
Ted Gill, Cliff McDuff.
They were forced to rehire him or like reinstate him as CEO, and with like a full bonus or whatever. So like, you know, in full effect and coming in like full authority over the Subnautica 2 project and everything. So yeah, they were forced to do that. And
but now
I mean, the game has been through
hell,
all kinds of
It's been through hell.
Yeah.
And then this happened, which is what? That now they're saying it's not ready or something for release? There's like even there.
I don't think it's. No, they're still working on it. There hasn't been like a change in terms of that.
Okay.
But yeah, only to say that now the guy's back in charge, and
that'd be a tough day at the office if you were the guy who fired him. You know, the guy's back, and you're like, damn, yeah. And by the way, I'm not sympathetic. I'm literally just saying that would be an uncomfortable day at any office if that happened. It's weird. A lot of weird shit happened with that game. It's sort of sad to see a game. We've seen it, right? We've lived through it enough in whatever many years I'm doing YouTube and you guys have been on, but all these games that have an original title that does well and they try to make that sequel and shit just, you know, falls apart. Sometimes they don't even come out and you're just like, holy shit, and especially if the game does really well, like a Subnautica, where you're like, okay, this is doing really well. And then for whatever reason, didn't Kerbal Space Program 2 do really well? And it also, like,
no,
was I wrong on that?
No, that was way more mixed. So the reception to, yeah, it was very mixed. It was basically the original game was better in all respects. Sadly.
Maybe that's what I read was that it didn't do well. They couldn't figure out how to do a sequel to a game they had already made and get it done well. Damn.
Yeah. And development issues, you know.
There were a bunch of development issues for that one.
I mean, it goes to show you, I don't know why anybody's surprised that a company that has a success can have a failure, and a company that has a failure can have a success right after.
I mean, a lot of that is also just that it's very easy to underestimate how long it takes to make video games. And so this is generally like, we were talking a passage of years of like 5 or 6 years, or whatever. And like a lot of the time, and a lot of stuff can happen over 5 or 6 years.
Look at City Skylines 2. I mean, I thought 1 was really good. I thought it was enjoyable. And then 2 comes out and can't get above like 1 frame per second and just craters.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there looking at it going like, how did we get here? I mean, obviously making a game is super difficult. So it'd just be better if we were like, let's not want people to lose their job if you don't like their game.
It's also why I think I mentioned to you guys before the podcast. I mean, I can look at Crimson Desert and say it's not really a game for me, but I can also look at Crimson Desert and say it's kind of staggering that they managed to
do it at all.
Put something together that does kind of work at all.
Yeah.
True.
Dude, I've been on teams with only 7 people and trying to get software to the ready state or whatever.
Yeah, man.
And I mean, and then on teams of 200 people, and the same problem applies. Sometimes it's easier with the bigger team. Sometimes it's easier with the smaller team, but a lot of times it just ain't easy. Like, there's a reason why people take massive vacations after some of these things. They've also been working for 5 years and lost a couple dozen family members, and a divorce is on the way. And it's rough, man. I
mean, when you sit through the credits, the end credits of a video game, and you see like all the babies that were born or whatever during development.
I still think the guys who did Psychonauts 2, if anybody wants to know what it's like making a video game, they're just currently on the market, is nothing better than the 42 episode or 32 episode YouTube series of Double Fine making Psychonauts 2. Because you learn more in those, I don't think they're an hour. It's about 32 hours. Whatever the full number of videos is, I think they're close to an hour apiece. You will learn more about game design in that than you probably will at a school. It is just because you will see all sides of acceptance, dire loss, of the curve of being at the top and going, this level is great, to this level isn't even going in the game. And somebody who that was sort of their level, just like, this thing that's coming. It's almost like if you had somebody who a band who writes songs and you have 5 songs on the album, and then right before the album ships, they grab the other guy and they put his 5 songs on, and you now feel like you're just a bit player for the team, you know. Oh, rough. What else we got?
We got some questions.
Let's do it.
Outside of that, haven't found any other news today. This one from Venue. He says, what is, or she actually, I don't know. Sorry. What is a feature you've seen in gaming that is probably enough? That is probable enough with near future technology that you think would help you in everyday life? Example, augmented eyes or glasses that can take pictures, videos, but can analyze them, scan book pages, search web, etc. Way better Google Lens, basically. Okay, so like something we saw in a game that could be real technology. Okay.
Deus Ex has a couple cybernetics.
That I thought about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of stuff, like invasive upgrades that you could do to your eyes or to like neural integration. I think it's probably what I would think about.
JR says double jump legs. I would not be
doing any of that.
Yeah, cybernetics, man, I love the idea, but if I can wear it, it's one thing. If you're putting it on, you know, like removing a finger, you know, or screwing something into my skull or whatever, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Man. And it's not even, I don't know if it's whatever. It's just, I just don't know. That's, I mean, dude, we haven't got to like the personal assistant from like massive, like an ED. And I don't even mean quantum entanglement intelligence. I'm just talking about like a true personal assistant, like her, or isn't it her?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. Is. I mean, I mess around with those and there's some pretty incredible things, but we're nowhere near like the speed and that kind of stuff. I'd love something like that.
I told you guys before about a surgery I had when I was a kid, right? Where because of my condition, my arms were a little too short. So when I was around, I think I was 13 or so, they basically sawed my arm, the bone in one of the bones in my arm. They sawed it right through. They bolted an iron pipe into my elbow and into my wrist along my arm. And then every day for like 6 months, you had to like screw on it to extend it a little bit, extend the pipe a little bit to like pull the arm, the pieces of bone in the arm further apart so that it would heal gradually and extend my arm in that way. And I had that done for like both arms. And so for like 6 months, for a year total, I had on either arm, I had like a huge steel pipe, like bolted into my arm with like steel bolts right into the bone. And I was like a 13-year-old kid feeling like a cyborg, or with like rocket launchers on
your arms because they look like pipes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man,
I've seen the guys do it for leg extensions, but they do it because they just want to be taller, which I get.
Right.
But like I understand. Somebody is heavy, they want to be thin. Somebody is short, they want to be tall. Whatever. But I ain't screwing no.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, it was pretty gnarly to like see like the bolts right in like the fluid or the pus.
Yeah, it's some body horror
like,
shit.
The bolts
right
and
there.
whatnot. Yeah,
that's body horror. What else we got for questions?
This one from Always Be Cooking. What's your favorite dessert? I don't know if this is like dessert. IRL or video games
or
dessert. Now, they're spelled the same, but I'm saying I bet you because of Crimson Desert and our jokes about dessert that he's talking about what our favorite dessert is.
Okay. Yeah. Very different question then.
Yeah.
Panna cotta. say.
Oh. Okay.
What the fuck is that?
Kind of like a pudding ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that doesn't sound so bad. What about you, Johnny?
Probably tiramisu with the sort of like coffee taste in there and everything. Yeah, great.
Probably. Man, I just don't have them very much. Lemon.
Lemon cake.
Lemon meringue or something tart. I like tart stuff. Lemon meringue's such an old. I mean, I think of it as old, but like I don't see it very much. But when I was a kid, and you would have it with ice cream and stuff like that, it was good. I haven't had any in a while.
So it's like the cream. The meringue is like the cream, right?
Oh, sorry.
So
No, I
actual
know it's not spelled the same. I
lemon
was
cake?
saying I thought he spelled it the same, guys. So I thought he was, because the joke in the Discord is Crimson Dessert. So that's why I thought, because people are saying they're not spelled the same.
Okay, that could be.
I was saying,
he wrote desert.
Yeah, but I think he was, because I mean, what's
it
our
makes
favorite
more
desert?
sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, especially as much as we joked around.
Yeah.
We can answer that too, though, just in case he meant it. What's our favorite desert? I have no fucking clue. I don't even have a favorite mountain.
Aren't they like all the same? Isn't that the thing about?
I feel like it
in terms
is.
of like
It's why dessert made more sense.
Mythology and having read about it, I would say, of course, the Sahara.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a desert I've read a lot about. And
I mean, what other, like, there's not even that many. Oh, unless he means in fantasy too, like Dune. But I mean,
someone said Tatooine. That's from fiction.
That's an
That's a
entire
good
planet. That's not even like. I don't. That's
Come
why
on,
I
it
think
qualifies.
Nah, I don't think so.
That's why Arrakis.
Yeah. I feel like that's why dessert was the correct question, because I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, true.
But,
Mad Max, good desert.
Mad Max, good desert.
Assassin's Creed Origins. I really enjoyed the desert in that one.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that was
okay. Yeah, I mean those pyramids looked pretty incredible when you would approach them.
And just the sand dunes as well, like riding on the camel out into the dunes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a good moment. Definitely my least favorite land in any game too. Like I just don't like deserts in games for the most part. I thought Origins was fine, but it just doesn't. Other than Mad Max, because they had done so much care in putting the different types of desert in one and showing like where seafloor stuff had come up. Like I was like, oh, I really like this. But what were we gonna say, John?
I was gonna say I grew up in Brazil, as I told you guys, and we have sand dunes. And so one thing we would do is we would like surf in the dunes. So you would have like a surfboard.
Yeah.
But you'd basically like slide down the dunes. That was a lot of fun because we had some really tall ones. Some really tall dunes.
Well, it's fun until you like roll off into the sand versus like surfing in the water.
Well, it was surprising. It was really soft. So you would kind of like, it would actually be fine.
The sun has been baking on it for like...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, very hot. That was the problem.
I forgot about that. That's, very hot. Yeah. You roll off that thing and you're like, God damn. What else we got?
Yeah. This one from Grim Player. Why around... Why around gamers right now is a lot of tension? I mean, there is one group that is hating newer games and compare it to older games, the favorite game, and there is another group which never how bad game it, I guess no matter how bad a game is, will defend it. And he says, I mostly see it on Polish gaming field.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read that myself here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, there's some.
No, that's all right. Why around games?
There's some
right now,
syntax there.
Is there a lot of why around games or gamers right now? Is there a lot of tension? I mean, there's one group that is hating newer games and compared to older games, the favorite thing, and there's another group which never, no matter how bad a game is, they will defend it. Okay, yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, we see that for sure.
Yeah, dude,
people heavily invest themselves in things. Whether it's a video game, whether it's a movie, whether it's some kind of intellectual property, or
does it come down to like tribalism? Is that it? Just people are tribal.
I don't think it's a question of tribalism. I think it's a question of people investing themselves, investing time, energy, like thoughts, whatever, into a thing. Whether that thing is like a creative property or whether it's someone or whatever it is, and then because you've invested so much in it, you feel some kind of bond to it and a need to defend it or whatever. I think that's part of it.
Investment in games is probably higher than anything else also because it's interactive, which almost no other sport is.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say when you go to a football game, you're not or singly, at least you're not impacting that game singly, at least maybe as a group with cheering. But games, you're just in the game. You're interacting, you're adjusting it, your experience is your own, and no one wants to be told that their 8 hours of liking something is stupid and they're dumb. That's one thing. And then nobody who doesn't like something wants somebody else. They sort of want to prove like that person dislikes something. And it does happen with everything, but it does happen more with games. And I can say it is interesting because, again, I do consult outside of games on certain industries. And I can tell you that anti almost everything that we see in games that does cause this kind of stuff, whether it be AI, whether it be wage laws, all this shit is way more whatever in gaming than it is in the other ones. And even when I don't think it impacts gaming as much, like at all, I notice it's just heavier in games. No matter what, even if I go to like a computer that's not mine and I look up stuff, on a profile that I've never signed into, you just look at the number of those discussions and how they're portrayed. Gaming in particular is just volatile.
I think you might have that sense because it's so much more visible with gaming, exactly because it's so visible on social media.
Yeah. And it's the biggest entertainment industry in the world. So just by sheer numbers, right? Like even if a Harry Potter
that as well.
movie isn't going to be as big.
I mean, I think you also see the same dynamic with like parasocial relationships, right? Where people invest themselves in a streamer or whatever and feel the need to defend them. Or, I mean, and that goes back to even to like music fandom where people invested themselves in rock bands. Yeah. Right? Where you had like Black Sabbath versus Rolling Stones or whatever.
Exactly. Or Metallica Megadeth was big when I was a kid. It was oh, how dare you and by the way, you'd only hear it once or twice because you'd bump into somebody at school who was Sega Nintendo. And I did see fist fights over Sega Nintendo. I actually saw people throw fists over Sega Nintendo. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? But it is definitely more people are involved. It's a bigger industry. It's not just guys, it's girls, guys. Like the age demographic, the sex demographic has completely changed in games. And it's blown up. He's right, though. I mean, it's a thing. It's noticeable. It's like, and we notice the stuff with like DF and DLSS and stuff like that. Where you're like, holy shit, things have gone. I think social media, listen, I wouldn't know you guys without social media has to have some type of connection with me doing well on YouTube, whether it be a Twitter post or whatever. So I can't say without social media, I would know you guys. So I'm just going to lump it in with Discord and YouTube to me is social media, by the way. I don't think people agree with me, but dude, I can comment. I can do a post, no video. And if I'm doing a video, really, that's a creation, which is like social media where somebody uploads, so like to me, it is a social platform that is a lot like Twitter. It's a longer form or what have you. So I wouldn't know you guys. So I'm very happy it exists. However, I'm pretty well adjusted towards that because I had to live without it. I had to grow up as it grew up. But if I was a kid and I got a first phone, let's say a parent was good and they waited till 15. I think younger than that, man, you're even older than that, you're asking for problems. But let's say you have a parent who gives a kid a phone at 15 and they go from their sheltered home and the only interactions they have are personal and are with people talking to them directly and maybe the occasional rumor at school to what you see on social media in one day. That's a disaster, man. I do not envy my friends with kids for that particular. I do not know how I'd handle it. Well, I do know. It'd be a lot of talk and a lot of almost training and a lot of like probably piecemeal giving out of the, like your phone wouldn't be always on, there'd be like, because dude, it's cancer because some people are bad people and they wouldn't have the outlet to be bad. And humans are really bad at taking in bad input too. I mean, I just watched I don't know if you guys have seen this, and I absolutely think you should all watch this. Brett Spiner and Jonathan Frakes, both from Star Trek, do their own podcast now because they're best friends. It's called like the Johnny and Brett podcast, and they have all these artists on. This morning they did the guy who created Family Guy.
Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane.
Seth.
I happen to have seen most of that as well.
And they were talking about just like, and even them, they're just the way people interact with stuff, the fans and all that kind of thing. They talked this morning about the idea that they don't read your reviews because the good ones never say it's a masterpiece, and the bad ones, they're just like die. And it hurts. And even if they are nice about bad ones, it still hurts because humans are like that. And that's because humans are engaged in like, they're small groups and we're not ready for social media, but it happened. That's why, by the way, I would say my views on AI and stuff are probably all based on that I lived through that. So I'm trying to say, be prepared. Where some people are like, I'm going to put draw a line in the sand. I'm like, well, you'll be left behind. Like, you need to figure out how you're going to deal with it. You can't just pretend something doesn't exist because it's there, and it's there in a bunch of different ways. But yeah, it's weird, man. I don't know. It's bad in games. It's also good in games. You just have to take the good and the bad or not care. Like, I don't care. If somebody says good job, I'm like, thank you. But if they were to say bad job,
it's also really the area where it's also really, really, really horrible is sports.
It is very horrible. Dude, hoodlums, or what are they called? Is that what they're called in soccer?
Yeah, hooligans.
Hooligans, dude. Hoodlums. Well, I mean, it's sort of the same thing. But yeah, it's bad in sports. We'll have a guy.
I mean, I still remember in the USA World Cup when that Colombian player scored an own goal.
Scored his own goal. And got murdered. Yeah.
Whoa.
We had a guy a couple years ago who wore he did this on purpose, so I want to point out is not smart, but he wore another team's jersey and went and sat in their seats and was getting all like, pushy and shovey and talking shit and got the hell beat out of him, which obviously that's ridiculous, but he was causing his own issue, and that's how easy it is to have those type of problems. It's fuckery. Yeah, it's tough, man. That's why if you're a creator or you're thinking about it, probably best if you don't have family members who are super close and understand, it's probably best to get a therapist. I mean, most actors have therapists to talk about like how to handle feedback that is going to be from the internet. Go ahead. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I also just remember hearing so many stories from like players on team sports and their wives and such. Receiving death threats because the player has like a crisis, can't score goals or whatever momentarily, and then they start getting death threats and whatnot from their fans, their next of kin and whatnot.
Wow.
So yeah,
anonymous does matter, and sense of distance matters though.
Yeah,
because you get somebody, and I've done this. I've had it not on purpose, but
it does for sure.
Go to an event, see somebody who bad talks you, they have. And then they're like, hi, how are you? And you're like, good, you fucking pussy. Because, dude, you're just using distance and trying to be anonymous. But, like, the moment that kind of stuff, I mean, we've dealt with it, like all of humanity's dealt with it, is just way magnified because of social media.
Media, exactly, yeah. It's so visible.
Yeah. I love it, though.
It's so easy to do it.
I love it.
In the analog days, you had to actually write a letter, pen a letter, and then put it in the mail.
or take out a newspaper article, right? Pay your $5 per letter, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, wasn't it Ben Franklin who took out newspapers about his wife and was calling her like a flagellant? Like he wrote a bunch of bad shit about his wife.
He wrote not just his wife.
Yeah, he's sort of a prick. But it's weird. I like it though. I like being able to talk to people, and I see huge benefits from it. But at the same time, if I was younger and I went into YouTube or into Twitch or whatever,
it's a lot of negativity.
It's a lot of negativity, and you can't really screen. You can. Oh, by the way, one positive to AI. You can try it with filters, but it doesn't work great. One positive to AI will be the ability for a person who in the future creates a YouTube or whatever and just be like, listen, I don't want to see any of that shit. You know, if it pops, I just don't want to see it, you know, like, and they can create on their own. Can you imagine, guys, being a painter? The other thing about games and stuff is not game developers, but people who do videos or whatever. If you're not trying to do clickbait, which like for me, I'm not, I can create a video in 15 minutes or not in 15 minutes, a 15-minute video pretty quickly, where a painter takes a long time. So they're not getting that negative feedback as enough. Some creators can create a ton of, you know, content. They think it's good, but some jackass doesn't like them. And they're just constantly getting that, like, that pecking of a bird. Yeah, it starts small, but it's just,
yeah.
And I've seen it, by the way, I should tell you guys, I've seen it with our own hosts where I've had to, like, or maybe not inviting somebody on, but like long-term hosts where, you know, somebody doesn't like them and they go to every social media to say it. You'll find it on Reddit or Spotify or YouTube. And I'm just like, usually I'll just be like, fuck you, you're gone. But especially if they just keep, you know, it's just stupid stuff. But then I've had people, you know, DM me and be like, man, this guy's, he just won't shut up. He's like always on me. It's making me uncomfortable. Like, well, then they're gone. You know, I have the ability to delete anything I want on the creation that I create. I don't, but I have that ability, especially if somebody's being a dick, and they have the ability to not subscribe or give it a thumbs down and comment. Though that's the deal that we have. But Fighting Cowboy one time was talking about this. I'm going to be honest. A lot of times in the past, I would leave really rank stuff about co-hosts up and sort of debate. I usually deleted it, but I would sort of debate stuff. And then one time I was talking to Cowboy and we just talked it out. And I was like, yeah, man, I guess that really does. Well, it's my job also to protect people. If somebody like if you invite a developer on and people are just hammering them for this guy looks like shit or what a fat piece I'm just like, dude, that's gone. Like, that's gone. It has nothing to do with what
or Lord forbid it's a female creator.
You know what? Bless every person who has ever watched this podcast, or I have been so lucky and so have they. We've had Azerlin on. We've had Clara on. Yeah. They have been, maybe it's because I'm like sort of belligerent and so people know, but dude, you are right. I have been so nervous about that every time and it has always turned out to be way better in that. And it hasn't been way better like, hey man, she's got nice bank. You know, it's been like, it's been really nice. But yeah, you are right. Because dude, I think I told you, I had some guys who were attracted to me, guys who were telling me what they were going to do. It was just funny as fuck. But then I realized it was funny to me, but it's like, if it hadn't been me and it'd been a female, that would have been like, and I remember this was when I first started the channel going, that person just said, like, if I was a girl, how would I have treated that? And I was like, oh, you know what? That's weird. Like that, like, it hadn't really affected me because I was like, it's Twitter or it's a YouTube comment. Like somebody's just being sexual and YouTube filters it out. But I was like, nah, actually, I'll just get in the habit of removing that weird shit, you know, right away, right at the starting. What else we got?
Well, that was it for questions today.
Let's see. Before we wrap this up, we'll try to wrap it up in the next 10 so you guys can go. Let me look at new news, verify. So again, Chuck Norris passed away. Absolutely sucks. I did see some other thing. Jason Schreier said this regarding Sony's strategy shift away from PC. At some point, Sony will confirm it, whether it's on a call with investors or maybe even when House Mark starts doing press for Saros and somebody asks if they have plans to bring it to PC and they say no. So I think people were probably perhaps asking him, oh no, it's because Sony moles this is another article from today. As Sony moles what to do with their PC game business, Death Stranding 2 looks to be an absolute hit. So it must be because Death Stranding 2 is doing well and people are like, well, if they're doing well. Listen, I still firmly believe it's because right now they don't have an app. They don't have the systems that they probably need to get this all in place. But what they do and can do is try to solidify any kind of console base they can before the next Xbox comes out. I'm not saying next Xbox will sell. I'm saying one sale to Sony is a big deal. And honestly, that one did well. That's great. But a lot of their titles haven't done as well as I assumed. I've most of them I've liked, but they weren't really like selling a ton. I feel way worse for Nixies for being bought. You're a company that's making ports, and your specialty is making ports. You're doing really well because it was Nixies, right? That they bought, I believe it. Yeah, it was Nixies, and they bought them. Is that
isn't
right?
it Blue?
No, Blue Point's a different one. Blue Point's a different one.
Point.
But yeah, Blue Point
down.
as well.
Yeah.
Blue Point got shut down.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at it, it's just like, yeah, that's the way it is. Like it sucks. If I was working there thinking, hey, I can do ports here, ports there, work for Xbox, talk to Nintendo, it'll never happen. Hey, Nintendo, we'll do a good version of Mario 64. I mean, the game's 900 years old. Do it. Like, throw a fucking port on there or something. But now they work for Sony as a support company, and just so everybody knows who gets cut first, support companies. They just do. That's just the way the business works. And so
Rough.
Fucking really rough. I mean, maybe they're happy. I don't have any, and I'm just saying, if I worked for them, I would be up in arms about it.
They are the Expendables, yeah.
They are the Expendables, yeah. And I mean, we're talking back in the day, Sega, CD, Saturn, PlayStation, support companies get cut first. Port companies get cut first because they'll be like first person or first party will do the main one. We'll just push it out a couple months versus holding all these people. Also, they were ramping up at some point to release more PC ports, which probably means hirings. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have enough first party games to need all those guys, I hope they do. I legitimately hope they do. But I don't think they do. So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Sony's not going to confirm it because they will. Yeah. Sony's confirmed the weirdest shit, dude. I agree with you. He says Sony's not going to confirm it because investors will ask them why you walk away from money, and investors want to make money, and that's where they're all about. Sony has consistently announced the weirdest shit, and most of the time, it feels like their investors are invested in the console space, not the PC space, because they also haven't dramatically risen due to the PC ports. You didn't see them quadruple their stock price just because they were doing PC and there was extra money to be made. In fact, Sony will probably be able to work it that it's a savings and a better chance of success by just having them all work on first-party titles. So it's pretty easy to word it whatever way you want. But we'll see. Hey, hope you're right. I'd love to see more PC. I mean, dude, Saros on PC. What's the other one that's coming out? Well, Death Stranding came out. Wolverine on PC. Ghost of Yokai.
Ghost of Yokai. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you're looking at these kind of things and you're just like, holy shit, these are games that, whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're doing what they're doing, and we know they're doing it, so it's not like it's fake. Let's wrap this up with something like amazing and good. Do we have anything? I'll tell you what, man.
One cool thing.
You go. You go.
I just wanted to mention Link to Death Stranding. It's actually overwhelmingly positive on Steam right now. So really good for them. Really cool to see. Apparently it's a solid port.
Awesome.
The numbers are not very high.
The first one was also a solid port, so yeah.
Yeah, first one was also. It's not very high. What do you mean? What, the number of reviews?
Well, the concurrent players. Again, this is just one data point. Doesn't reflect.
What are they?
They're like right now 22,000. The peak has been like 55,000.
Hey, 55,000 peak on. Oh, it is just. For a second, my brain was going back to console players. Might also be playing. But
you're thinking consoles. Yeah. In this case, it's mostly Steam, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, because it's Steam, the PC right? release. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say double that bought it. That's literally. I'm saying in the best case, that's not what happened. But that's not great. But it's also a bad time to release the. Oh, by the way, I can't.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I think this has been planned for a while. Somebody in our chat reminded me of something I had bitched about. A couple months ago, I was talking to some people in chat, Absy and a couple of us were in there, and I was like, man, this is so weird. I've never had any issues getting Sony games ever. Sometimes you just wouldn't get code, but you get responses. But guess what? I had forgot. Their PC titles, there were multiple ones with no codes. And I went back and looked at like the requests and responses, and I was like, man, this might have been in place, or it might have been a sort of a thought process to just sort of blithely let them go and see how they do without any support. So if we pull support, it won't be as big of a deal, because dude, it's dramatically different console to PC on what code was available. We're talking like 10-1. So that seems to me to be a pattern I had bitched about and never put the pattern together until this happened. The game was, I think somebody asked about Death Stranding 2, and I'm like, weird. I usually get a DM that says, are you interested in code? And I was like, there was nothing. And I feel like I'm not huge when it comes to viewers, but like if I can get 100 or 200,000 views, that's like not a small, let's say I loved it, only a tenth of those, but that's still some money. It's like, that's weird that you didn't get any real, not a ton of real, coverage for it. Man, I think
expect the concurrent numbers for Death Stranding to climb over the weekend, which is probably where most people are going to see it. And
I would
also like concurrent people, like concurrent players. I think like 50 to 100,000 is pretty decent for like a single player game like that concurrently.
Yeah, our perception is also skewed with the big ones.
I agree with you, but don't. I think it is, but I don't for a Kojima title. I don't. It's not the number as more as just like that's a big drop from what you would expect. Because remember, Death Stranding 2 on console doesn't seem to have done the massive numbers. Because I think we've talked about this before too. Was I expected it to be more of a like Death Stranding 1 was, where it was just like such a big deal. But that's a sequel too, right? Like it's you're not going to get the original.
It's a known commodity kind of at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. Personally, I just feel like, I don't know. I doubled it to 100,000. I still feel like, well, Crimson Desert, bad time to, but that's the other thing. Every time I mention it's a bad time to release it, I'm like, they're the ones who chose to release on the same days. That seems to be like not caring. Like but Sony's done this before. They did it with Horizon and Legend of Zelda, right? Where those were, and then what was the other game with Horizon 2? Was it another Zelda?
I think it was Elden Ring.
Was it another Zelda? Oh, Ring. Yeah, I think it was Elden Ring. So it's like
it was Horizon.
It was Horizon Zelda, then Horizon Elden Ring, right?
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
I think so.
Dude,
it was crazy.
Look at the fucking calendar, man. Look at releases.com and be like, Yeah. Servant Berserk, $5 super chat. Upcoming God of War 6. DLSS off, Kratos. DLSS on, Carrick. That's awesome. You could have reversed it and it would have made more sense, but I appreciate that. That's awesome. The DLSS off on has become such a meme. I'm already tired of it. I was tired of it within the first 5 minutes. And then
instantly
you'll have
tired.
People post the same one 6 seconds later.
With like
memes,
99% of meme fats. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
that is absolutely true. What else do we got before we wrap this thing up? Like a Taco Bell lunch wrap. We got anything amazing going on? Oh, next week you'll see from me a upcoming games, and then I got to look at the schedule. Obviously, there's some games I want to review, and there's a couple I do have code for. Then a preview, maybe next week. And then, did you guys see the footage for Exodus? That looks pretty cool. I thought that looks good. They posted
Mass Effect.
Yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Could have been 5 days ago for my brain, but I think it was yesterday they released a trailer which showed some action. Yeah, you should try to have a look because it looks, we're hoping. We've seen games that look good, but it looks good. And then the other one, Expanse. I'm assuming we'll be seeing more footage of that in the next couple months. I mean, I don't remember when that announced date is, but so your Mass Effect style games, we're being fed pretty well there too. I'm pretty excited I hope they're good because I love my Star. Yes. I love my like futuristic shooters in like RPG, sci-fi and RPG. Other than that, I'll say Watch a Paradise, Watch a Pit. Those are my two TV shows. Anybody watching a show you want to pimp?
Paradise is great. One Piece on Netflix is great. New season is out. Even if you're not an anime fan, completely great to just watch. Because I haven't watched the anime myself. Okay. But the show's great. Cast is awesome. they've all like done an insane job, like getting in shape for everything, like looking super awesome in the action. So highly recommended.
Excellent. What about you, Silver? Anything you're watching or reading or listening to?
Not really at the moment.
Nothing brand new.
No, nothing that like I would say is superlative or anything. Or
No French named cartoon that was only had one episode and was released in a primal language nobody speaks.
Actually, there is one, but I think I've talked about that one before, Mars Express. But I finally had a chance to watch that like a month or so ago.
I don't think I've heard that one. Mars Express.
Yeah, it's a French cyberpunk science fiction film with very heavy Ghost in the Shell inspiration.
Okay.
It's really, really good. Or at least I felt it was. Quite dark in places.
Mars Express. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that one. All right, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys showing up. I appreciate everybody watching the stream. If you didn't get a chance to follow Johnny, is it Johnny Plays Live? Oh, yes. Servant says gonna watch Project Hail Mary after this. Yeah, I heard that movie is really good too. Mars Express rules, EFB says. So anyway, that'll be it for us. If you haven't watched The Walking the Walk, go check it out. If you haven't commented on a video, go do so. It absolutely helps the channel. Check out the Discord if you want to continue talking with us, because we'll probably be in voice chat all weekend. Peace out, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Bye-bye. Take care.